Call the special meeting of the Paradise Irrigation District to order at 6:02 p.m. With pledge allegiance to the flag.
Can you do it twice today?
What? Well, this one says you're doing.
Oh, I didn't put it on.
Oh, right.
It's only the regular meeting up on the
Oh,
screen.
she got the regular meeting. Okay, I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, where is
So
that?
we didn't have to try and bring it up after we came out.
Right. Okay. Well, this says it too.
So one item, closed session item on the agenda. Where are you so?
Well, shouldn't we do roll call though?
You're gonna call me out?
Yeah, let's do roll call, please.
Are we gonna adjourn, just in case somebody
Yes,
wants to?
we do.
Director Corolla,
Here.
Vice President Hunt,
I'll go
Here.
President Duncan,
Here.
Director Fletcher,
Here.
Director Keller.
Yes. Yes, here. Okay, we have, what is the subject of our closed session? Do we have to announce it?
Paying the state,
Pending litigation.
state claims mandate.
Okay, we'll go to closed session. Oh,
It's just done.
what's that?
This is the one,
The
just so when you
close-
come out, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. You know, just we don't need to take anything in.
Now.
Not special ones.
No matter what meeting it is, it's not real.
You know, when they turn the generator off, the electrical doesn't work, like our generator's not working. It's weird, that plug where the T's plugged in is working, but like from the left of the sink.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So is the generator on right now?
No,
Oh,
I mean, it's just, for some reason, those electrical outlets in the refrigerator, so it must be,
that's so bizarre.
I know that word.
That is bizarre.
We've coming out of closed session. Direction was given to our legal attorney, and no action was taken. Okay, so now we got 4 minutes before the meeting starts.
How are you? Yeah.
Call a special meeting of the Paradise Irrigation District to order on December the 10th at 6:30 p.m. Three of us commissioners or directors were up for election, and we usually are sworn in at the meeting, but because we had a closed session, we were sworn in before, so all three of us have already taken the oath that we're up for election with no competition. So I'll call the meeting to order, and please pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Director Corolla,
Here.
Vice President Hunt,
Here.
President Duncan,
Here.
Director Fletcher,
Here.
Director Keller.
Here. Okay, tonight is the night we elect new officers for the coming year, and I will turn the meeting over to the general manager.
All right, thank you. At this point, I will open the nominations for the office of president.
I would like to nominate Ken Hunt for president.
We have a second?
I would like to make another nomination. Yeah, I don't think you have to second nomination.
You don't have to second them?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Director Larry Duncan for a second term as president.
Okay.
I
Any
move
other
nominations
nominees?
closed.
Is there a second to closing nominations?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Nominations are closed. So as our historical procedure goes, we'll vote on the nominees in the order nominated. So the first nomination was for Director Hunt to be president for 2015. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I want another year, but I'll give it to you.
Opposed? Any opposed? Aye. Any abstains?
I'll oppose that. I really wanted Larry to be a president another year because I know he was aware he's done an awesome job conducting this particular year. And I have, as we talked earlier, most of you weren't here, I have no problem with any of these other directors being president. I really don't. But I just was pleased with the way that Larry conducted himself and the business at hand. It has nothing to do with Director Hunt or anything else.
I agree. He's done a very good job.
Absolutely.
And with that, I will turn the meeting back over to the new president for the remainder of the election procedure.
All right. I will take nominations for vice president at this time.
I nominate Sepp Corolla.
Any other nominations?
I'll second that. I was going to nominate Sepp myself. Any other nominations?
Yeah, I move we.
Yeah, you better take this away
I'll
from
take
me.
that.
I move nominations closed.
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing the nomination, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None. It passed 5-0. All those in favor of
I move we appoint,
Sepp Corolla as,
oh, we've already done
that
it.
was just to close the nominations.
Oh, excuse
I'm
me.
sorry. I'm a little slow.
I'm slow too. I'm trying to hurry up.
Used to having the gavel in his hand.
Yeah.
All those in favor of appointing Sepp Corolla as vice president, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None. Passes 5-0.
Okay, I move that we appoint Georgiana Barola and Kevin Phillips as secretary and treasurer,
Respectively.
respectively.
I'll second.
I move that the nominations be closed.
I'll second.
This is a appointment, so we don't have to close it. We don't? No,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was, yeah. So that was an appointment.
this is appointment.
So in regard to the appointment, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. It passes 5-0. We're moving to item number 3 of the agenda, which is the approval of the consent calendar. And perhaps before we get started, I will remind the public, since there are so many public members here with us tonight, of our processes here, so you know when you're able to participate and when we're going to be calling upon the public for participation. There are 2 areas in the agenda where you will have an opportunity to participate. One is when we get to item number 4, which is public participation. And that is for items that are not on the agenda. So I will ask if any public wants to bring up something that's not already on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we'll get your participation later on. So the public will have an opportunity to participate there. We will control the amount of time that we allow each public member to have at the podium so that we don't stay here until Friday. Then later on, we'll start moving into our business topics. And if there's any, for each individual business topic, I will get to the point where I will ask for public participation. And that's public input. The public will be given an opportunity to make statements. They could ask questions of the board. give opinions, and once again, we'll have a certain time limit for that. The public will not be allowed to debate back and forth with board members. The public will not be allowed to ask questions directly to staff or staff members or debate with them. So to try and keep control, we'll keep this flow of information through me. And if you have questions, certainly ask them of the board. And if the board doesn't know the answers, it gives us ideas about items that we may ask of the staff. So that's where the public will come in on the individual topics that are on the agenda. So, approval of the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any, is there, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, consent calendar passed, and since I had no opposition, I think it passed 5-0.
We're supposed to do a roll call, Mr. President.
Yeah, we
On the
need to do a
consent?
roll. There's a resolution.
No.
I forgot about it. Oh, because there's a resolution in here?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Roll call vote then.
I think what we should do is a roll call vote on the consent calendar.
Good idea.
Georgiana, please.
Oh, let's see, Vice President Corolla,
Yes.
Director Duncan,
Yes.
Director Fletcher,
Yes.
Director Kellogg,
Yes.
President Hunt.
Yes. The roll call passed 5-0. Public participation. Now, this is the time that I explained earlier. It's general topics, things that are not on the agenda. Does any of the public here wish to speak to us about items that are not already scheduled on the agenda later on? No? Then we will move on. We're passing old business. We have none that was saved and brought forward. At this particular time, this is happens once a year, we're going to recess the meeting that we have right now ongoing as the Paradise Irrigation District Board of Directors. And so I will recess that meeting. We will now call to order a meeting of the Paradise Irrigation District Public Facilities Financing Corporation Board. Guess who's on that board? It's us five. So it's really just a requirement that we meet once a year. This is our financing arm. And at this particular point, we should probably have the agenda here. We're going to go through the roll call and everything else again. Okay, please do. Call to order, and we will have a roll call.
Vice President Corolla,
Here.
President Hunt,
Here?
Director Duncan,
Yes.
Director Fletcher,
Yes.
Director Kellogg,
Yes.
The directors, we have minutes that were produced from our last meeting of December 11th, 2013. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes, or any comments or corrections?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Once again, formality dictates that we have a segment of public participation for this particular board meeting. This is once again where the public can speak to financing items for this district. Well, speak to anything you want to for this financing committee board. Any public members want to make any addresses now for items that are not on the finance agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Financing update, finally. Treasurer Phillips.
So just to remind everybody that this is a financing corporation that's set up to finance projects within the district. The last project that we financed through this corporation was the meter project, and we went out for a public offering for that meter project, and it was a 15-year borrowing. That was the project total was $5 million. I do have just an update for everybody, just the amortization schedule of that. If we all remember that we had a 5-year window that we had a less, the debt service was considerably less, and then it was going to be ramped up after that 5-year period was over for another 10 years. And so at the average debt service for the first 5 years was about $315,000, and the average debt service for the next 10 years is about $615,000. So I just have a kind of the printout of that just to kind of remind everybody what it was. We've already made one of our payments that was for this next fiscal year as of October 1st. And so that'll continue until October 1st of 2024.
Was that one of the 615,000 or the older? What
Say
was it? Pardon?
The payment, how much was the payment? Is what-
That we just made?
Yes.
It was $512,946.87.
Thank you.
So, right now, we have no plans on using the corporation for financing for any other projects coming up, because most of the projects, the 2 big projects coming up that we are looking to do, we're in the process of getting state revolving fund money, which does not require us to go out for any type of public offering or using this financing corporation for any type of debt service. Oh, yes, and we do have, there is an opening in this debt service or this loan that will allow us to go and look for refinancing, but it requires a 7-year window before we can go out for a refinance. So when that window comes up, we will have our financing a company that does all of our financing for us shop it and see if there's a better rate out there that might make sense for us to go out and refinance this debt over the same amount of time at a lower interest rate.
What project was this borrowed for?
Meters.
Okay, well, I said the meters were about 6 million, and it says 5,720,000, so I was pretty
Yeah,
close.
so
wasn't
what
I?
you do is not all of that was project funds. A portion of it was debt issuance funds, but we also put away $500,000 into a reserve trust fund. So you borrow that money and you set it away for the last payment, that's due.
Right. That's where the 6 million came out of my head.
And by the time we pay it off in 2024, we'll have paid in $8,100,000.
With interest, correct.
Yeah, that's on top of the principal is $5,720,000, but with the interest and the other charges that are on here, we're going to be paying a little over $8 million.
Minus about $600,000 that is in reserve.
Is that money still in reserve?
Oh, yeah.
Better be, huh?
It's there.
But it is earning interest also.
Off of it, 'cause
That wasn't the
there's
money
not
that
much
went
out
into page 15, was it?
there. Say what?
That wasn't the money that was on page 15.
No.
Okay, good.
Any other questions for Treasurer Phillips? Thank you for the report.
Thanks, Kevin.
There be no other business to conduct for this particular board. We will adjourn that meeting now at whatever that is, 6:45. And we are then coming out of recess and we'll continue on with our business of the Paradise Irrigation District. For those of you that are following on the agenda, we're going to item number 7, which is new business. Item 7A is rehabilitation of the treated water storage tank. Manager Barber, will you give us an introduction to this topic, please?
Yeah, just a reminder, that you've gotten reports in the past. We had all of our tanks evaluated. The twist was one of them. We've had some issues with cracking and leakage. The initial recommendation from the engineer was to do a rehabilitation of the tank all the way, including a coating of the interior. After staff and I met and we discussed the next course of action, we thought it was best to move forward with taking care of the crack sealing, evaluating all of that, and getting that done in the first contract before we talked about actually putting a new liner in the tank. That way we know we've addressed all the issues and we can kind of figure going forward what the best option is for putting a liner in that tank if we think that's what we need to do for the next step. So with their assistance, we went out to bid on this project. The bids were, are they in there? You might-
Yes.
Yeah. The bids had quite a spread. We were a little surprised, and I can just tell you, Jim, I heard Jim was here when they opened the first bid, and that was the highest amount. So that was a little nerve-wracking, I'm sure. But quite a spread, but Jim has done some checking on the low bidder, and we're comfortable that they are qualified and prepared to do this work as best as we can check them out. And so we're recommending awarding the contract to Advanced Industrial Services. And I'll ask Jim if he wants to add anything.
No, I don't.
Did you find out why they were so different?
Well, the low bid is in line with the engineer's estimate.
Oh.
The high bid is just not explainable, and the middle bid is, well, let's just say it's a company with a lot of overhead, and that's just that bid they would provide. We expected that bid, the middle bid.
Great.
Kevin, go back to the motion, if you would, please. Thanks.
Since we've heard of the project from the staff, and at this particular point, I'll actually give the public two opportunities to participate in this item. One would be now. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak to the Board of Directors about this particular item, I'm going to ask you to come up. After I hear public participation, the Board of Directors will discuss it, maybe ask questions of staff. We'll discuss it some more. Just prior to voting, then, after the public having the opportunity to hear that additional discussion, I will ask the public once again if there are any more comments, opinions, statements that they want to make. So at this time, does any members from the public care to speak to this topic about the repair of our treated water storage tank?
I would just have one quick question.
Please come up and identify yourself.
My name's Dave Noble. Any warranty on any of these services from any of these companies?
That's a good question there. We have talked about that before. When the water treatment storage tank was first built, there was warranty, and we did go back. As I recall, those questions came up long ago. Can you clarify for us, George, in regard to, because there was a settlement with the contractor at that time that I believe.
Before I got here, they had a settlement with the contractor that put the lining on the original tank, and so the district got some money back. It was decided at that time the tank didn't need to be lined again, and so as far as any further warranty issues on that tank, they're not. There's nothing out there.
So they would not provide any kind of warranty on their work then?
The new one will have some warranty. Do you remember what it is, Jim?
It'll be a 1-year, normal 1-year warranty.
And that's for all three of the bids?
Yes.
That's for all three bids? All right.
Yeah, that's in the bid documents.
I'm sorry. I guess I misunderstood your question. I thought you were talking about the existing tank and whether it was still under warranty.
I'm talking about the difference
Okay.
in bids.
Yeah. Any other public questions or comments in this regard? In that case, I'll go to the board. Any board members have any discussion, comments, questions from staff?
I do. I think this shows the outstanding work that we get from our staff in going through all of this and the different, making sure that the district's money is well spent and asking the questions of the different contractors and having a thorough explanation for the board and for you as the public about why we're spending the money.
Any other questions?
I would agree with Director Kellogg on that. Did we determine, I asked this question earlier, why it cracked? Is it because the ground up there, all you got to do is drive into the parking lot. The ground up there is definitely settling. That mountain's moving,
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent, it's moving. Is that what caused it to crack?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but there was no geotechnical investigation done around the tank, It's likely that it could have been an issue with compaction or something like that, but it's not been finally determined. We may get a little more input when AECOM does their geotech up there,
Yeah.
but not for sure. You wanna add,
Well,
Jim?
I have another question. Will this $133 company, are they going to try to keep it from cracking again or more or what?
Right.
You know what they're proposing to do?
Yeah, there's procedures to use epoxy to inject from the inside, when the tank's drained, and then you inject from the outside,
Yeah.
and then you fill the tank, and if if there's still some seepage, then they'll come back and they'll re-inject until the leaks are gone.
Yeah, okay.
And as far as expanding on the cracks, part of their process is exposing the rebar so it can be looked at and make sure
Right.
that it hasn't been degraded to where it may cause future problems.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that some of that rebar is deteriorated in there from just the water and other stuff on it. It'll be interesting to see when they do it.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I move approval to award the contract to Advanced Industrial Services for the rehabilitation of the treatment water storage tank in accordance with the bid documents and authorize the general manager to execute the contract at not to exceed the cost of $133,850.
Second.
At this time, actually, I got a little ahead of myself. I would like to know, does the public have any further comments or questions to bring up about this? If not, then we'll go ahead. We've got the motion. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. It passes 5-0. Next item is Paradise Lake permits and use fees. Manager Barber, I'll allow you, please, to bring that up to us again. Now we're going to get some public participation.
Yeah, we might. I'll just remind everybody of the process. We're a special district. This board is elected by the people of this district, and so they're charged with figuring out how to spend our customers' money. And part of that process is evaluating our current operations and are we doing things the right way? Should we do them different? And so the board members ask questions. We as staff evaluate that. We provide our recommendations. Oftentimes it'll go to a committee, which in this case it did Monday night. And the committee makes a recommendation. So I'll probably have some more clarifying issues, but with that, I'll pass it back to President Hunt, who kind of initiated this evaluation, to let him kind of give his thoughts on how it got started.
I got the pot stirred up.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will. I'll give some more direction on this or input, and then we will move on with the next item, which will be public participation. And that is, I attended a conference of water recently, a couple months ago. And at that, in talking to other peoples in other districts, I came across some ideas, and they had some facilities like ours, and we have this recreation facility of this component that we have of recreation up at Paradise Lake. And I've known for years that we lose money on operating the lake. And I don't like that, but that's the way it was. And over the years, the public has probably heard me be a proponent for increasing fees, to try and negate some of these losses. To put it in, there's a document here. There's give you an idea of the profit and loss on that. That doesn't have it. Our income there is maybe about $35,000 a year. Our expenses there are $135,000 a year, $138,000 a year. Okay, good. That's the one I was looking for. So there were two items that kind of dovetailed into my thinking at this conference. And one was the power of trust, just trusting people to do what's right. There were some examples brought up about roadside fruit stands. Instead of paying for a clerk to run it, they just left, hey, we got a big bag of tomatoes and a little bag of tomatoes, and this one is $5 and that one is $2. And somebody did it with tulips in Holland, and somebody did it in another place. And it turned out that these people had nice experiences. They actually got in more money than when they had an employee there. So that came into my line of thinking, but the other thing was just merely the cost. We have 2 people working at the lake. They're employees that get paid, our good wages. They have the good benefits, and I thought, the second person we have, he's a temp anyhow, 9 months or 10 months work or something like that. We pay him
it's on the bottom.
$45,000 a year. Our income is $35,000. And so my question to the staff and to the Lake Committee and other people and the board members and public is maybe if we could cut back this one person here, we wouldn't charge the public anything. And that might really make us look good to the public. They would have more participation, certainly, I would think. And we might come across as being able to save, $10,000 or so, and have a nice, shiny relationship with public to have more usage up there. And so I brought this up at a finance committee meeting. But as we got the facts and figures here, we decided we were going to turn it over to the Lake Committee for further evaluation. We could say, hey, it kind of seems to make sense, let's get it over there. So it goes to the Lake Committee. The Lake Committee had a meeting on it Monday, and then, of course, the public became involved. So that's where we are. But keep in mind that I don't think I know that I personally don't really have a crusade here. It was an idea. It was an idea brought up to staff, brought up to the committee, brought up to the board for consideration. And if the board feels it's appropriate to move forward in that manner, then we'll vote, and if a majority votes yes, we will. And if the board says, maybe based upon Lake Committee recommendations, that it is not well thought of, and we don't want to pursue that at all, let's just leave things status quo, then if we vote to do that, then that's what we'll do. And that's where we are now. So, yes, George.
Before you get to the public, I just want to kind of discuss the committee's recommendation.
Oh, yeah, because I do need to know that.
Yes, you do.
But, who's the Lake Committee chairman? Is that?
I was the chairman.
The chairman? Larry, then tell us.
Well, me too.
You guys had fun on Friday or Monday night.
It wasn't bad. We got a lot of information. We had more people there then than now, I think, because some people were standing. Anyway, it was brought to it, and can you read the motion that was made? I want you to hear what the motion was.
From the lake?
Yeah, from the Lake Committee.
The minutes on here.
Are the minutes here?
Yeah, you've got a copy there, Larry.
Oh, okay. Okay, the committee passed unanimously, included the following: keep the lake open year-round, employ 2 full-time positions, and do not lower the fees. Now, it was unanimously done, but I sort of didn't like the whole motion. I did say yes to it. My problem was that we did ask the audience if they were willing to pay more, that if we did keep it open year-round, that we would have to more than likely raise the fees. And we didn't know what that was going to be. And unfortunately, we didn't have anybody here that was in favor of getting rid of the fees, which I thought if they were here, they wouldn't have said anything anyway. But it was, I think it was a good meeting and we learned a lot. But like we've always said in the past, 50, 60 people is a very small portion of our ratepayers. And since it's being subsidized by the ratepayers by over $100,000, we have to be careful what we do, because the ratepayers are the ones that elected us. That's basically what happened.
Okay, I need a little clarification. I didn't quite understand what the committee recommendation is.
It
It's
was
in the minutes.
well. He doesn't have the minutes. I don't have it here. It says keep the lake open year round, employ 2 full-time positions, and do not lower the fees.
Okay.
That was the recommendation.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's going the other way.
It is.
We don't have 2 full-time positions now, do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
And let me clarify that a little bit, because the lake committee is probably not in a place to discuss it anyhow, but we've provided you with, somewhere in the paper, an estimate of additional costs to imply 2 full-time people up there. And one of the things I need to remind you is these changes don't happen unilaterally. Our employees are represented by IBW, so any change would have to be negotiated with them. I, as the manager, would expect that a full-time position would likely have different duties than what the seasonal does, maybe a different skill set. Therefore, we have to sit down with the union and figure out what would that job description be for a full-time. And absent knowing that and having that discussion, we just made this calculation with the assumption that you would have two people at the current lake patrol position. Whether that's appropriate or not, that'll have to be discussed with the union and the board, obviously. But that would obviously be the high end of additional costs. So we estimated you're looking at about just under $25,000 a year to have 2 full-time lake patrolmen up there at the lake. And keep in mind, the committee's recommendation was to open the lake year-round. So that would...
Well, that was
likely
my
have-
next, that was my next question.
What's the clarification on that?
Yeah, let me clarify that, because that would hopefully mean more revenue. But our current operations are this. In basically December 1st, boating and the north side of the lake is closed to fishing, and boating is closed. If you go way back to our earlier days when we were kind of mostly a fishing lake, the Department of Health, I think, had something to do with pushing the closure of the lake in the winter, because you drive around to service the restrooms, you have mud issues, etc. And so they had some concerns with that. That's what I remember Rick Toronto telling me anyhow. So we've kind of evolved to this point where we're closed in the winter, but that's only on the North Lake side into boating. But if you drove to the main entrance and parked, you could park there. You can fish along a portion of the lake right there. But you can also get out of your car and hike all the way around the lake and all the way back. So those restrooms are used year-round as well, and they have to be serviced year-round. So the reason I came to this recommendation to the committee was that, one, if we're going to do it, we should do it right. So that means if we're going to really be open full year for some activities, why not open it for all, for one thing, and then do the improvements necessary to make sure we can service those facilities properly in the future year-round as well.
and what months are we closed now? What time
It's
period?
From December
boating?
1st to the opening of
Mid-April.
which is
Mid-April.
last Saturday in April.
So did you say December 1st?
Yeah.
Okay, so boating just closed,
Yeah.
lake access to the lake or boating. and to the last Saturday in April.
Yes.
Can I get off? Having been at that meeting, most of you were there. You see me, I thought Larry did an excellent job of running that. When you people, the public left, I felt that most of you felt that you had your say and was on to this particular meeting. And that's at least what eye contact I saw that you said. And a couple points I want to make. George, I have down here in my notes, and I put it in big print. You started out by saying that you would like to make the seasonal person full-time. That was your statement. At least that's what I wrote down right after you said it. And it would cost us $15,000 to $20,000.
That was my estimate.
Yeah, that's what I realized they were all estimates. Now we have the new one here that we just got this evening. It's the new lake patrol, and it breaks it all the way down. And then on the bottom paragraph, after the figures, this assumes highest cost for existing full-time patrol classification. So this money that we're talking about paying the new person, if we have one full-time, would be based on that full-time patrol classification.
Yeah,
Now, the
because
union,
just so you're clear, I need to be upfront with the board, and I didn't want to undersell this.
I understand.
Because we just expanded the seasonal lake patrol positions wage. That may not be the true cost in the end. So I want to give you a high end subject to negotiation with
yeah, I understand
the
that.
bargaining group.
And then one of the big things that came out of the meeting that Larry alluded to, it was really felt that we need to keep the lake open year-round. People are up there walking it once a week, and the north side or whatever it happens to be, and that was kind of really thought of. And one of the things that I know I ask, and other people ask, if they would go to the recommendation that you folks voted and convinced the committee to vote on, without a doubt there will be somewhat of a raise in the fees. But I personally think, because I've had a lot of people talk to me way before this, what we charge for boating, the launching and the parking and all that is very inexpensive for what they're used to paying when they go to a lake. You know, I don't do that because fishing's boring, so I don't go to lakes. But anyway, I need to revisit that. But anyway, it's compared to other lakes. You know, they always mention Collins and others. But anyway, that type of a situation. And getting back to this, one more thing, then I'll be quiet for a brief time. This $103,000 net loss that we were talking about, starting out with the revenues of 35 and all this, I think one of the members said, and I was thinking of this, I had it down in my notes, that's the cost of doing business. You know, we determined if we build a chain link fence all the way around that blasted lake and put razor wire on the type, which I've done for a couple projects I've been on, we would still have to have security watching that thing. We really would. And it would cost us some money. So you got to look at it in that perspective. So that $103,000 net loss, and whatever we come up here with this full-time new person, which I hope we hire, that's the cost of doing business. You know, we're a multi-million-dollar outfit. Got the best water in the world. And this is one way to keep it this way.
Good point.
Until we start taking it out of the Magalia Reservoir. Then my phone starts ringing off the hook.
Has it been ringing in the last week?
Not like it usually does. And I'm afraid to call some of the people that generally call me.
Okay, thank you. At this point then, I think what I'm going to do is, I don't know how much public participation we're going to get, but it looks like it could be an awful lot. Maybe not. We're going to try to keep repetitive comments to a minimum. So it doesn't really help us much if one person gets up and says, I want to have motorboats on the lake. And the next one says, I want to have motorboats. And the third one says, I want to have motorboats. Okay, we'll take it that maybe there's more than just a few that want it. So if I see that we're bogging down on a particular point, I'll try to ask us to move along and see if we have other items that people want to bring up for us to consider. And I think that we'll try and limit this to an aggregate of 20 minutes until 7:30 for public participation, if it takes that much. It may not. But what we will do is limit the amount of time for an individual to, because there's so many of you, our general outline is 5 minutes, but we'll limit it to 3 minutes. and see if we can't get a lot of you to go through the process. At this point, do we have anybody that would like to come up? We'll take the first hand that shot up there. Oh, a stranger.
Actually, I have a little information here for you guys, if you'd be willing to take it. It's the directives and stuff that we got 17 years ago.
Would you, so that the public knows who you are, maybe they all do. And there's our permanent guy.
These are the directions that we received from the board back in '97 about our committee and what our fees were intended to pay for. People are under the mistaken assumption that this is a loss. And this is why we want to try to change the thinking of this board. How can protecting your watershed be a loss? We feel that it's a cost of the business. And I have a brief speech I'd like to make here, if I can. Well, I like to talk a lot. Doug says he's called windy. I'm windier, but I don't do well with public
I'll agree
speaking.
with that.
Anyway, I'd like to say good evening to you guys, and you know who I am. I'm your permanent lake patrolman. I appreciate the opportunity to address you guys. I respect this board and its decision, like all the boards I've worked for in the last 30 years. I'm not here to create controversy or get myself or anyone else in trouble. I haven't always agreed with the decision the boards have made, and I understand the unique position you guys are in. I know your job's not easy, and I wouldn't want it. But with all due respect, the latest idea about rescinding lake fees and diminishing the temporary lake patrolman position was a frightening proposal to me. I believe it was well-meaning and sincere. Mr. Duncan actually assured me of that on the phone yesterday. I do believe, however, it was ill-conceived, not well thought out, not vetted very well. I believe some may have been misled into believing that I spend most of my time collecting money. This is simply not true. Our job at the lake is much more. I was told about the other agencies, talked with, and how they didn't charge for the recreational services. Now, perhaps we should have made sure their services are comparable to ours. Do they have a park? Do they have fishing? Do they have boating? What do they offer? What kind of magic or public support do they have that enables them to offer such free services? Who are these agencies? Are they water agencies, or are they, just parks and recs? I would like to compare theirs to ours. Where are you going to find a place like Paradise Lake with the things it has to offer? With the reasonable fees we charge, we service 15,000 to 20,000 people a year. With the good public relations that it fosters while providing security for your drinking water supply, with only 2 employees for $90,000 to $100,000 a year total cost, roughly 1 to 2% of your total budget. I'd venture to say you'd have a really hard time finding that place. The security and safety of Paradise Lake should not be considered a loss. I believe, as Doug does, it's a cost of doing business. We have security fences, gates, alarm systems, outside lighting, etc. at all of our facilities. The treatment plant has to be manned 24 hours a day. I would argue that your raw water supply, Paradise Lake, should not be looked at any differently. The district has no choice but to provide recreation at the lake. Some of you may not be aware of this. We use public bond money, Davis-Gruncy bond, to build and raise the dam. Therefore, we must allow some form of recreation. It's also the cost of doing business. The main reason we were never open the lake year-round has been the issue of funding the temporary position to full-time. It's a matter of money. Boards have always been reluctant because it would cost more money. Less people, bad roads, outhouses maintained that would be rough, as George has mentioned, have also been considerations. Nowadays, we have many more people. We have a much improved road system in place and a large amount of work to be done on the shaded fuel projects in the winter. This warrants the hiring of the temporary to full-time. I believe the public wants it. Your manager wants it. The Lake Committee voted unanimously 10-0 for it. I have the assurance of our present treatment plant superintendent, Jim Passanisi, as well as Bill Taylor and Rick Toronto, the 2 prior superintendents, that now is the time to fill the full-time position. The memo that accompanied the agenda in our Lake Committee was full of inaccuracies. The lake permit revenue was never initiated to pay for the temporary lake patrolman. Our objectives were outlined in the information I've given you quite clearly. It was to pay a percentage of costs.
Excuse me, Greg.
Yes, sir?
How many more pages do you have there? Because
Just a couple. I will be done
your
real
3
quickly.
minutes are up, and I want to remind you of something.
Yes, sir.
You had plenty of opportunity to bring this into the district manager. Did you present that?
I didn't have any opportunity to bring this in the district manager.
I understand that you did,
I
and
wanted
you
to bring
walked
this
out
to
on the
full
meeting.
board so that everybody here could hear. Could I have someone else's 3 minutes? Is that
No,
permissible?
you cannot, because that is not in our...
People are watching.
It is not allowed.
I'd like to make a
Are you
motion.
telling me I have to stop?
Yes, I am.
Bar, I will.
Yeah.
Because I'll be happy to print this out for y'all.
Yes, you can do that,
Ken?
and that's what you should have done.
Ken,
Well, I will. I intend to do that, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Ken,
Do we
Thank
have?
you very much.
And thank you, Greg.
Ken.
Because the information you brought up is good information for us to have.
You want to hear it.
Ken.
I do, Greg.
My name's Dave Noble. I stood up before. My question to you is, what's with this attitude and arrogance? I can't understand it, Mr. Hunt. Are you offended personally because your idea got shot down?
No, I told you. Listen, do you want to make comments? Go ahead and make them, and then
Okay,
you've got your 3 minutes.
My first question to the board is this. I was here on Monday night. You gentlemen are responsible for our drinking water. Now, all I've heard up here so far is recreational talk. I would like the board to understand that the water in that lake is a commodity more valuable than any gold nugget any one of you could ever find anywhere. And the reason is this. The water in the lake involves property value in the town of Paradise. With the drought conditions the way they are, and lessening the security at the lake, you're increasing the liability. Now, I was told at the Monday night meeting by Mr. Barber that the buck stops with you people. And if that is the condition, I would be a little more concerned with the security of Paradise Lake. It is a beautiful place to recreate, I agree, but it is the drinking water for the town of Paradise. And along with the positions you have comes responsibility. Part of that responsibility is liability. You people's decisions relate directly to that lake. And me personally, Mr. Hunt, I don't appreciate your attitude being president of this board. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
And thank you for your comments. Do you have anybody else that would like to comment?
My name's Jim Roberts. I've been with the Del Oro Water Company for over 28 years. And I've given the responsibility of treating water out of Lake Oroville. And that has God knows what activity going on out there. And I have a lot of customers that would love to have a patrolman keep an eye on their water source. And we don't have that. We have an open reservoir that's open to all sorts of activity, sanctioned or unsanctioned activity. Besides the recreational values of the lake, I think having 2 people on staff to, even if they're on not any type of schedule, just popping in and out, I think the public's aware of that, and I think having them there just kind of polices the activity around the lake. And as far as any fees or anything, I'm fine with keeping the fees the way they are. I think that when people have a little bit of skin in the game, they kind of tend to care a little bit more about the facilities that they're using. And even a small hike wouldn't be bad, but it's in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you a resident up here? Are you a resident in Paradise? No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
However, working for Del Oro, we do
Yeah.
water from PID.
Like system, that's right. And you clean it just like we do. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
I'm David Yore. David. I am the current or laid off current seasonal lake patrolman.
You're the
yeah
9-month guy or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, I'm the one that's. I've just completed my 7th season with PID, with being the seasonal lake patrolman. The first 3 seasons were done through Gitman. I was through a temp service. The next 3 seasons, I was hired by PID without benefits because that's in our union contract. I have to complete 3 consecutive seasons, and then I'm eligible for the union benefits that everybody else gets. 2014, there I am. I got them this year. So yes, there is an extra cost because I finally get benefits. But as you said earlier, it keeps the seasonal position cost just seems to keep jumping up. It's been published in the paper at 44. It's been on the paper at 46 44,600, and then you jumped it up to 45,000 a year for the seasonal position.
Oh, I just round off, but
Or round it off. Well, that is incorrect, and this has been revised, and the paper's up here. I'm sure you have one. The 2014 seasonal position cost the district $37,618.48, not $45,000. That is, and then the discrepancy, I don't know if there's discrepancy, but throughout the past 4 years, it's been over 35,000 every year it grows. It went 34, 30, 33, 34, 35,000 revenue. This year, I think it's over 35.
yeah.
So we're not talking, looking at a $9,000 over the revenue. We're talking maybe 2,000 according to this.
Or for all
1,000,
intent and purpose,
and
about
revenue every year goes up.
about the same.
And then on that, as what you all guys have on the finance committee, the cost of $103,000. Well, actually, I see that you can, rounding things off, you can knock off $8,000 off that. It's $95,000 because the original information was incorrect. And I see another thing what I wanted to say at the Lake Committee, and I didn't, was like the Lake Committee throughout the years since I've been working there at the lake, they've done a great job. The board has done a great job. Actually, since I've been there, I've seen some great improvements. I think it was because of the manager willing to put some money into there. The PID has put a lot of money into it to build it up the way it is, with the cement tables, getting rid of all that stuff, clearing, gravel, cement work, handicap. And at this time, I cannot see any reason when we're growing every year to eliminate a seasonal position, to eliminate fees, and eliminating that stuff, you're eliminating the safety, the security, and the upkeep of the lake. And I would recommend the board to dismiss this. I mean, that's my opinion, Thank you.
All right, thank you, David. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Mark Thorpe. I raise my kids in this community. I no longer reside here temporarily, but I am here representing my elderly mother who lives on Lucky John Road, also 10 other residential homeowners who are part of a consortium that get together to discuss political issues within the community. Having 25 years invested in this community, again, raising my kids, being married at the lake, I have an investment and I have credibility in the statement I'm about to make. What concerns me about what is being done here, and usually is being done with policy that is implemented by boards of directors, is that cost-benefit analysis has not been completed appropriately. There's a cost. There's a benefit. The crux of it is that certain elements have been brought forward, and I commend the board, and I have to say honestly, Mr. Hunt, that the fiduciary responsibility that you have to the district shareholders, essentially, people that are paying these dues, is commendable. However, the $103,000 that's been provided here as a discrepancy in the amount that's being lost for the lake, I believe is going the wrong direction. I hear about wanting to make cuts. Austerity seems to be the word of the day. It seems like we want to make cuts in order to balance budgets and worksheets. You have a jewel. You have an opportunity to have wedding venues, recreational activities, perhaps even festival activity at that venue. I don't believe these have been explored. Perhaps that's a managerial issue. But something that you're going to want to look at is how do you recover that discrepancy? Don't cut back. Perhaps look the other direction in the progressive board that you are and say that we can grow into this. I'm hearing that there's increased volume. I'm hearing there's a desire for a year-round, that they want to have a new boat dock. They want to have a second patrolman. I understand that safety is not going to be a concerned issue because of liabilities, but I also know that every interaction that's made with every person that gives you the money is security. So for those 40 to 50,000 people that contact is made each and every year, commend you. Don't give up on that. Increase it. Be progressive. I represent those 10 individuals, 8 to 10 individuals on Lucky John Road, and I'm willing to take this information back after I already shared with them the Lake Committee's unanimous decision to give to the board. So I anxiously await your decision, and hopefully that'll be made tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Any other public members would like to speak to us? Okay, you'll have one other opportunity. Back to the board. Bill, you wanted my attention a while ago for something.
Well, that point's passed, but I do want to make some comments. I agree with the last gentleman that we're not looking at the opportunities to expand the use of the lake. We're being very negative here tonight, or at least this proposal is very negative. We do have in work, George, a grant for another boat ramp. Is that still going on with the state of California?
Yeah, it's still looking positive. It got through the governor's budget, and we're awaiting a public hearing in spring before a final decision is made.
So there will be a new ramp, hopefully, if it goes ahead, plus the one we have now, but farther over. A lot of people go there just for picnicking on a dirt road that goes back, and George had some rocks put in it where it was more passable recently. So we're talking about doubling, actually, the responsibility on that side of the lake, because we'll have double the facilities because we'll have 2 boat ramps. And that's some of the progressive things that are coming forward for the lake. I've talked to my relatives and friends. One of my nieces works with CDF at the CDF's part on the other side of the lake, and she's a cook there. And they haven't been able to man that all the time, but they're having problems with trespassing and damages to the facility. And so, of course, her idea was you don't want to lower your security. If anything, you want to raise it. And then others have told me that very positively that they'll pay more money for access and fishing. This gentleman has been fishing in that lake for 35 years. He called me up today to tell me what he expressed in the lake committee meeting, and his feeling was keep the lake open, increase security, do what the recommendations are from the committee. And he's a long-term retired dentist in Paradise, just loves to fish and hunt, an outside man, and so he's used the lake for a considerable amount of years. He's not bored with it, Doug. At any rate,
I'm not bored with the lake, I'm bored with fishing.
Yes, I know.
My wife says it's because fish can't talk.
Your wife's pretty smart, Doug.
All right. I got a nice comment about that one too, but go ahead, Bill.
At any rate, so to me, that I would very much like to see the recommendations of the committee. That was voted on, even though it was a hand vote, and it was only, whatever, you had 50 people packed in this room, 40 people?
40.
Yeah.
We had 40.
40 not
Yeah.
counting the
40 with 10 members, so that's
With 10
50.
members, okay.
Bill,
So, yeah.
Since I was there, we had a hand vote of all the people that were public, but each committee member voted as a roll call type vote.
Oh, okay. So we have community support. When we see this many people at a meeting, we know we do. Normally we have maybe 2 or 3 people who are here for special interests on some water issue with themselves and their property. So seeing this kind of support and knowing probably every one of you on average knows 200 people, whether you know them in the district or not. I've been up there and visited with people that were up there fishing and ran into 3 people from Merced. I've talked to people from all over the state up there, have been using the facilities. And so the fee schedule just doesn't apply to the people in Paradise. It's all these customers that are coming and the word of mouth that's being done. This is the bar graph we get. And the one over here, the tallest one, is this year's. It's not finished yet. And it shows you increased use. We've spent a lot of money on fixing up the facilities and getting everything ship-shape, and it's showing up. We have, we've got good children's play with the kibbles. Our bathrooms are all clean and kept up, and the roads have been improved, the trails have been improved. We've done all sorts of things to help it, and Greg Dobbs has been a great leader for us on the Lake Committee, putting in information and everything, and his boss is back there nodding his head. So I would like to agree with you what the committee wanted to do. I think it's a very positive way to go, And Mark, the ideas you presented, some of those I've never heard before. Maybe there's some, hopefully Georgiana will get it in the minutes and something we can consider down the road. That's all I have, Ken.
Thank you. Anybody else? Comments or questions from?
Yeah, I'd just like to, first off, kind of remind the public that when Director Hunt came up with this idea, he went to a conference, he saw some progressive ideas, he brought them back, presented them as an idea. I think it's been kind of misconceived that he's kind of pressing for this issue, but he has always been one of the biggest advocates to make sure that the lake is safe and that we are keeping our fees at a rate that's equitable and not overcharging. Our rates were a little higher actually a couple of years ago, and then we actually lowered them back down. So it was an idea. It's an idea that should be brought forth, explored, but doesn't mean it's an idea that we're going to go forward with or an idea we not maybe pick components of. That being said, my biggest concern up there at the lake is if we didn't have permits and fees and lake patrol and all the things that go hand in hand with that, we are probably going to be exposed to some activities and elements that we really don't want to see at that lake and endanger our water, as well as the forest. We still have, it's not just the water, there's a whole bunch of trees around there and a whole bunch of fire fuel and everything else that could happen up there. Greg already has his hands full year-round watching that kind of activity. In the past couple of years, Greg has a full-time job. He might only work a certain days of the week, but I guarantee it's a full-time job making sure that lake is safe. And there have been elements up at the lake and at Magalia Reservoir that have been here in front of this board making explanations of why they were in places they shouldn't have been or why they were riding quads where they shouldn't be. And Greg has been one of the instigators of that. Dave has always done a great job up there and has been our temporary guy here for, 7 years up there. So I have no desire to see him leave either. The improvements to the lake, if any of you have visited the lake in the past 5 years, from 5 years ago to present day, the lake has made some astounding changes that you couldn't see picnic tables in some of the locations where they were at 5 years ago. When they cleared a bunch of forests, I'm like, wow, how long have those been there? Greg's like 25 years, and wow, the forest was just covering them over. You just couldn't see it. And if you go to like Kids Fishing Day, there's so much more open space around the banks because of the shaded fuel break and the, what's the other cleanup that we get with the conservation? I think that's just, is that?
We get county prison.
Yeah, but we call it something else. What's that? Is that the burn fuels or something that's there where they clean up the brush and everything that's around the edge of it? Exactly, yeah, okay. So that is the shaded fuel break, okay. So there's been some vast improvements to the lake here in the past 5 years. We have voted just about everything that has come from the Lake Committee or something that we've come up with, bathrooms and the handicap parking and the redesign of where the bathrooms and the ramps and all that go, and the boat launch up on the top end, dock on the top end, and bathrooms up there. Those have all been things that the board has gone forward with, and I can't ever remember Director Hunt voting against those things. So, like I said, it was an idea. I do not ever foresee the costs of running the lake being offset by the revenue that we generate from fees up there. It will just simply never happen. It's a huge, as that gap just stays kind of at this gap. It's 100 and so thousand. It's 100 and so thousand that it costs right now to run it, and we get 35,000. But those things are just going to kind of keep going unless we can increase the population of how many people go to that lake, and that's done by everybody in this room saying, "Have you ever been there before? Why don't you go up there and check it out? It's like $4 to park. You can fish for this much. You can hike that thing every day of the year." So those are things that we want to bring in. Taking our young people up there, Kids Fishing Day, one of the best events. It's a free event. We dump nothing but thousands of dollars into that event, and countless time from all the staff that's up there and runs it. That's all done to get little people into the idea of this is something in nature. Take your eyes off your cell phones and your video games and everything else. Let's look out at the lake. Let's pick up a fishing rod or hike or bike or do whatever up there. So I am not in favor of getting rid of fees. I am in favor of having the lake open year-round and having 2 full-time positions. I think that, but I don't believe we're going to be lowering the fees. And if anything, there might be an increase in fees. But I still think, compared to other venues that you can drive 25 miles to and spend more money, you got to see that right up there, just 4 miles away, 5 miles away from most of our houses, we've got a $5 to $10 outlay, and your whole family can have fun for the day. And the facilities up there are just fantastic. So, and hopefully more events like Mark was saying. We finished the gazebo early this year. Was it the end of last year? Okay, yeah, when that was done. Looking at having some wedding venues up there, and it's always been you got married at the lake, and that was 25 or so plus years ago. So obviously we were doing it back then. We only want to see that grow. So, but it's done by word of mouth, and that's everybody in this room and the paper. Everybody can get out there and say what a neat place to go. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Doug?
Yeah, I'll contribute a little bit more. One of the things that we haven't discussed here, and I've had the opportunity to watch it when it happened, on the shaded fuel break that was removed, Greg and David burned over 4,500 piles of fuel, brush, whatever you want to call it, in the last couple of years. How many acres did we put a fuel shade by? I had it written down someplace.
165 and 115.
165.
One was 65 and one was 15.
Yeah, okay, 15. So what I wanted to bring out as you drive up that country, and this is one of the things that I was really interested in when I got elected to the board a couple of years ago, thank you. That 80 acres had 4,500 piles of brush on it, and we estimated very cautiously that each pile had 1,200 pounds of brush in it. So you figure out the fuel load that was on that. It was just like a giant kindling box. That's one of the reasons why I was so interested to do that. We got some other stuff working on that too. And from Salt Creek and Valley View camps, we had 266 in 380 days. And I know for a fact, because I went with him once with George's permission, that Craig was there keeping those guys cleaning the proper kind of brush that we wanted to cut, this cypress and all this kind of stuff, because they would just tuck it all. Yeah, he had to prune it and all this. So they do a lot of different work in that. I've had a number of calls before, and I had one again today on this, and everyone that I've talked to, or has talked to me, I should say, because that's what I generally do, is try to let people talk to me, if you can believe that or not, Ken. But anyway, they want to not have something free because they feel like, I think you were the one who mentioned it, somebody mentioned it, but if you give people something free, they don't take care of it like they should. It's human nature is what they say, and I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. So if they pay something for it, they have more theory. I've seen that in education. And so I personally think, agree to accept, that we should keep the lake open year-round because that's what people want. We should definitely employ 2 full-time positions because of the fact the work is there and they're already doing it. And then to hear the third part was to lower the fees. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have to raise the fees. And most of the people that talk to me feel that the fees are fine and they should be raised very little, but somewhat.
No, it says do not lower. It says do not lower.
Yeah, do not lower. I say, it doesn't say also raise the fee.
Right.
See, like I did at the committee meeting, and you remember that, I said you're most likely looking at somewhat of a fee increase. I don't think it'll be, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I have no idea because we've never talked about it. And I don't know if I'm going to be on the lake committee again this year because it's the president's option, whoever he wants to point where. But anyway, it's a great group, and they've really done a lot of putting it together.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from you, Larry?
Yes. My first question is, how much money have we spent approximately on improving the lake in the last 5 years? Is it less than 100,000? Okay.
Less than 100,000.
And more than 50,000?
It really depends on whether you're talking about material purchases or employee hours.
It should be the whole thing. The whole
And just off the top of our head, I don't know.
100,000? Okay. The thing is, first of all, how many of you people have an annual permit to the lake? Please raise your hands. 10 people, okay. 10, 12 people, okay. Okay, let me, raise your hand, how many of you paid for it? How many of you paid for it? Okay, well, what I'm getting at is, I don't know how many permits we issue a year, but we issue a lot more than 10. And so what I'm saying is that you are a good group for being out here, but you do not represent the majority of the people. How many of you are ratepayers? How many of you buy water from PID?
Well, Daryl Oro does indirectly, huh?
You're right. But what I'm getting at is they said it was a loss, and what it is anything that this lake costs us, if it isn't collected in fees, then the other ratepayers are subsidizing it. And we're talking, in the last 5 years, we're talking about $600,000 or $700,000 that have been subsidized by ratepayers. And I don't think that's fair. If I was not a person who used the lake, you get your chance to talk later. Okay, okay, yeah, later. Okay, but anyway, so what I'm saying is that if I'm a ratepayer and there are some people who don't even know we have a lake. They even made a comment on the post Facebook, what lake? But what I'm saying is I do not appreciate paying for something that I don't use. And I don't think I'm in the minority on that. I think that's been very thick. So that's one of the reasons that I've been trying to keep it affordable, because I really like it. It's our jewel. It's the best thing we have next to the corporation yard. We do have a beautiful corporation yard now. Nothing like the other one. But anyway, so I'm proud. I mean, I didn't have anything to do with the lake improvements. I didn't have anything to do with the corporation yard. But I'm proud as a board member that we've done it. The thing is I'm reluctant to have the ratepayers subsidize more, and that's what would happen if we got a full-time person. And there's a lot of, they talk about the 103. It may be high in some things, but it's low in other things. There are other hidden costs that the lake does us. We do work in the office do the clerical work and so forth like that. And like I said before, when Ken brought this up, I almost fell off the chair, because Ken's been pushing to raise the rates and everything, and it was a good idea. It just isn't good for this area, I guess, based on what I've heard. But the conception was that we would have just as good a lake, but we wouldn't have to charge fees, and this would be that way. Some people, when we raise rates, we have people come here telling us that our rates are too high. And they aren't, but they do come here and do it. And the thing is, it's just like when we raised the water rate the last time, it was $2 a year, more a month. People, that's only $24 a year, but they didn't like that either. People just don't like to pay more. It's an inbred thing. But anyway, I feel that if we were to go to a full-time employee, we would have to increase the fees by, I would say, a minimum of $5 per permit. And I don't know, we wouldn't decide that tonight. We could do it tonight if yes.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, unless Dustin changed his mind. The agenda item adequately addresses it, so you could make a fee adjustment tonight.
Right.
So that is on the table.
Right. So I would.
If you don't want to make it tonight, and you want to make it, think about it and consider it in January, I would appreciate, like I said in the memo, a motion to make the lake free in January, so that we're not issuing passes come January 1st that you are going to turn around and increase, because then it's not fair to those that buy them late. Just trying to be fair to.
Of course, if we did raise the rate and made it effective February 1st, well, then maybe a lot of people would buy it.
That's an option.
That happened before. Right.
That option, whether
Right.
it's fair or not.
Right. But anyway, so that's the way I feel about it. I'm elected by the ratepayers, not by the lake users. And that's really important to me. I mean, that's who I'm representing, is the ratepayers. And so therefore, that's where I'm coming from. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You've said your piece?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I ultimately will. But I would like to go back to the public at this point, because I think we've probably got everybody's opinion and feeling about what board members would like to do. From this, you can probably pretty easily tell which way the vote is going to go. But if anybody else, after our discussions, it tripped another thought, if anybody would like to come back up to us again, we'll go through. Yes, I'll call on you first. We'll go through the same process. I'd like to try, if you could, to keep it like to a minute, if you wouldn't mind, so we could move ahead. And with that being said, Dave, I think it was.
A couple quick questions for Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
You claim that you don't use Paradise Lake. Do you live in the district?
Yes.
When you turn
38 years.
When you turn the faucet on in your house to get a drink of water, where does that water come from?
Well, we don't want to have a
My point is
debate
this.
back
My
and
point is this.
forth,
I'm not
but-
trying to belittle anybody.
Well,
I'm saying that he does use the lake.
It's easy. He was talking recreation.
I've said recreation.
That's
to
perfectly
storage,
fine.
yeah.
My other question is this. Why is the lake excluded from the water system? It seems as though the general fund can pay for the purification of the water. It can pay for the transportation of the water. The supply of the water comes out of general fund. But suddenly when the lake itself comes into question, it has to be self-supportive. This is something that I can't understand. It's a part of the system.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, and I think we can probably address that here shortly. Yeah.
Mr. Hubbard, we can have an opportunity to hear what you have said first before we go to
Would you like to hear what I have to say? Oh, okay. I will give you that. I feel a little bit abused because of the comments made, and really I thought it was something that was kind of innovative and different for me to do and bring up. My intent was to generate more people going to the lake. More people who would have an opportunity to go up there and say, well, let's go up and picnic, and I haven't done that before. I mean, when we have clients that come in and say that they eat cat food because they can't afford groceries and they're just on these very tight budgets, that's kind of depressing. And maybe it would have given those people some place to go other than Billy Park or the aquatic park over on Pearson or whatever road that's on. So I didn't mean to stir up such a tempest. And like I said earlier on, I'm not for it heavily one way or against it. I was a little disappointed, I will tell you this, in regard to the employees' reactions, because yes, it affects them personally. There are two of them here today. But it's my job to make decisions about employees' pay, their livelihood, whether they have a job or not. And it's not fun when it hurts people. But I have been telling many people recently I'm disappointed in human nature, because I've been running across a lot of people who always talk about their particular viewpoint and their need instead of the community's need. And that depresses me. I can understand it coming from the employees, but to come up and be critical and say, this wasn't well thought out and you didn't research this and you didn't get the cost exactly right. Little ideas start as little ideas. And they're brought up for discussion like we're doing. The experts give us information. The board members with their experience weighs in. the employees who are going to be affected, let their feelings be known. And then it's up to us to make the hard decision sometimes. Sometimes it's a hard decision, sometimes it's not. But from a little idea that was to expand services to the general public for no charge, it made me turn in, look like a dragon or something here. The other thing is, if we did not have this requirement from the federal government because of this huge loan that we got in building this dam, did I say that right?
State.
State?
Davis Grunsky
Okay.
State.
They're the ones that mandated that we provide recreation. Okay? They like to do that. Why? Because they want to provide something for the citizens of California. All over they're doing this, not just us. They didn't pick on us. But that's where the mandate came from. If we did not have that mandate, we may not have anything other than a Magalia Reservoir with no public access, no picnic areas, no trails, and a Paradise Lake Reservoir with no picnic, no boating access, no fishing access, nothing. But it's because of that issue that we do have that. So it's not like but that's not our business. David, it was a Dave or David? Dave brought up our business a couple of times. Our business is not recreation, our business is water. Providing clean, safe drinking water to the public. But we also have other things that we do, and this happens to be one of them. So we're spending a lot of amount of time on it tonight for something that is not a lot of dollars for us. That's absolutely true. Some of the points that were brought up were very well brought up in terms of we would have some of this expense anyhow. So all of this is not recreation expense. Perhaps our second employee is recreation expense, perhaps not. I just said, let's explore it. But we would still need to have security. We're concerned about security all the time. We're concerned about security on the Magalia Reservoir. Particularly a point that George brings up all the time is if a tanker truck going around that sharp curve has a drunk driver and he flips that rig over that little 2.5 foot high barrier and spills 50,000 gallons of fuel into that reservoir, that's a problem. That's why we have the bypass in. These things have been thought of. Fortunately, nothing happens overnight, but we try to make the right decisions, taking care of our water, and then this little ancillary thing here about taking care of some recreation. So whichever way the board votes tonight is okay with me, whether we go forward or we stay where we are or we go backwards. It's okay. Anyhow, that's my feeling, so that the public can know, and if they want to chew on me some more, they can. Yes, sir? You may come up.
Long-time resident. My name's Roy Spade. And to Mr. Duncan, you just represent some of the people, some of the ratepayers, not all of the ratepayers.
I don't.
You represent your district, do you not?
Everyone votes for me all over the town. It's an open.
Yeah, it's a strange system.
It's a strange system. I'm in one district, but everybody in town votes for me.
Some people vote for you.
Well, everyone can vote for me.
And secondly, about paying for things that I understand, some people don't like to pay for things you don't use, but you pay for the fire department, the library, police. You may never call the fire department. So I agree with people that say it's a cost of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Joe Boise, and I'm a property owner around on the lake, off lakefront. And I want to thank Mr. Hunt for actually, this question being a catalyst for a discussion. And I appreciate that, because I think after this discussion and a vote, we may be better off. I've lived there for 16 years, and I feel the lake is underutilized. And if we want to do, make it more accessible, maybe we ought to do a few free days, or make certain times that kind of like the dump does. Hey, check it out. Because I think it is a jewel. And it's worthwhile to, I don't see it as a cost of, as a loss, but I think it's a cost of doing business. Although the ratepayers are, not necessarily, if you don't like to fish, you don't like to boat, okay. But it's there if you change your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public members would like to address us before we move on and dispose? Yes, please.
My name is Christine Roberts, and I grew up on the backside of Paradise Lake on North Lake. The lake is wonderful. I go there a lot and go running or I ride my bike, and I appreciate so much what the guys are doing out on their boats, taking care of the lake. I usually thank them every time I see them out there for how clean they keep the porta potties and everything else. There's no garbage out there, and I love that. My fear is if it changes, the lake area being destroyed. In our area, we've gone on walks on the flume. We hit coming up Dean Road, and I saw 4 dumped mattresses. Oh, it made me so upset. We rode our bikes. We went down Honey Run, up Centerville, till we got up to Nimshiel. I'm exhausted trying to keep up with him. I counted out 7 dumped mattresses. So that's a real fear I have with Paradise Lake being, just torn apart and thrashed. So I think we got to keep the fees for parking. I'm not a boater or fisherman, but I think it's important. If we go free, I'm really worried about the vandalism that'll happen there. So I do appreciate your staff and what they're doing for keeping it beautiful there. And it's a great show-off place to have. We've had friends from the LA area come up and see it. We've had people from Ireland come up and see it. It's kind of like our show-off spot. So we're proud of the area and we appreciate what you're doing for us. So keep it up, please.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other public comments? Good. Maybe we can wrap this up. Board members, any more questions of the staff, or do we have any motions? Or yes, sir.
I think we've just had a really great transaction period with our people that are here, whether they're in the district or not, doesn't matter to me because they use the lake, and have given us a lot of ideas and thoughts and have been very sincere about it, and principally told us how much they love the lake and the facilities that are there, and they want us to take care of the lake and make it safe for them and their families when they come to the lake with security. And as we put the new ramp in, I hope that goes ahead and so forth. We'll have even better facilities. So I really appreciate you coming out on such a stormy, rainy night and expressing your opinions and your thoughts. It really helps us as a board to do our business, to have you here. So thank you.
Okay, no motion there.
No, quick, I want to make a motion after I get done with this.
Oh, a little speech?
No, not a little speech. Not even a big speech. I was up at the lake on behalf of the Lake Committee last year, getting ready for Kids Day, and lo and behold, Mrs. Roberts, Greg had a mattress at the back of his truck that somebody had dumped out there along the road on the way to our dam. And I kidded him about it. I said, hell, you're hauling your mattress with you so you can go watch the guys burn brush. But he had picked it up and hauled it off. So see, they do all kinds of things that we don't see. And it is a hidden jewel. And that's one of the things that the Lake Committee has been working on. I've been on it 2 years now. This is my second year on the board. And we're always trying to figure out some way to bring that hidden jewel out so people will use it. So it's really, that's all we talk about. We spend a lot of time on the Kids Day too. But that's always what we're doing, isn't that right, Larry? Trying to make it the lake more usable for people and all we do. So, I would like to move that we proceed to keep the lake open year-round, 2, employ 2 full-time positions in the patrol situation or tenders or whatever we want to call them. And then the third is that we set fees for 2015 at our January board meeting.
I'll second.
Does that work?
Before you second it, can I ask you to have no fees in January until the decision's made? I mean, I
That'd be
need to
fine.
know which direction you're headed, so.
far as I'm, okay, then you wanted the most.
Your options are, just, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I don't mind.
You can make January free to all. You can make some kind of decision that we're okay with people getting their annual passes before we make a change to it. That's okay too, as long as you're upfront about it. That's just my concern, is that January 1, people are going to buy a permit.
Well, would this work? If we make January free, or if, let's say, if we put the 2015 permits on sale February the 1st, would that work? Is that what you're talking about? That will work?
It'll work, but I'm not in favor of it.
Then you've got annual people that use the lake in January that are going to have to pay a daily fee until.
How about you make the 2014, you
Yeah.
have a 14,
Good
it's
point.
good till February.
Extend the 2014 annual permits until February 1st.
There we go. I knew we would come up with that. Georgiana, we can't in a position to ask you, do you understand the motion that we made here?
Yes, the motion was to keep the lake open year-round and.
Excuse- Go ahead.
Like 2 full-time positions and set the fees for 2015 in our January 2014 board meeting with extending the 2014 annual permits until February 1st, 2000.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
I'll word it better.
I'll second. I'll second.
Seconded.
We have a second.
One of the other, one little more bit, then I'll be quiet. One of the other things that came out of our committee meeting on Monday evening, as you'll remember, and I don't know who, I think I do, but I'm not gonna say. When we go to a year-round lake for public use, like he was talking about on the mandate, it opens up a lot more opportunity for grants. Because all of a sudden, the public is able to use it in a year-round situation. Does that make sense? Well, the person that presented, that's not my idea. But anyway, good.
Okay, I have a question about the motion.
Yes, so do I. Go ahead.
Okay, if we extend the 2014 to February 1st, then in February 1st, would they pay for just the 11 months?
No.
Or they get a whole year?
It's an annual pass.
Yeah, see, so that, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna,
It'll be the 2015 pass.
Restricted.
I know, okay, I'm gonna amend the motion to, since we're going to do that, I'm gonna amend the motion and ask that we raise the rates January 1st, 15 by $5 on the parking and the boating.
Okay. So just for information,
Yeah, did you say
that
yes?
would make the parking for non-Paradise Irrigation customers $25 for an annual. For a PID customer, it would make it $20. And for boating, which includes parking, it would make it $45.
Correct.
Is that what you meant?
That's what I meant.
And then there is a $20 charge for additional single occupancy vessels. Do you want to keep that at 20?
Keep that the same.
Okay.
Okay.
The only, is somebody second that?
Nobody?
Not yet. I'm looking.
Well,
Okay, there's been no second on the motion. Let's be
Wait a
careful
minute.
about, excuse me, there might be.
well, no, what I was going to say is, wasn't the idea to extend out the 2014 into February 1st
so
that we could
figure
have a
out-
meeting in January and discuss the fees?
Right, but we're gonna lose them, we're gonna lose a
Really
month's
not an
revenue.
amendment. You kind of need to shoot down the first one and then make a new motion.
Well, see, no,
Make it clear.
by extending this, because I've done this on fair things and other areas, by extending the year, the person's going to have 13 months use fees. So the new fee would go on sale on February the 1st. And they're, so the fee that they paid for 2014 for one additional month would work until February the 1st.
Correct.
If they're buying an annual pass, it
The key
still
is,
works out
though,
the same way.
But
So
the
it
key
doesn't-
is if they renew it on February 1st, then their annual pass goes to February 1st of 2016.
No,
2015
it
is
ends on
easy.
December 1st.
Oh, it does then, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, see, we've done that, I've been involved with the fair business my entire life,
Oh,
boards
okay.
and stuff. And we've done that very thing, and it works quite well.
That was my problem.
It works quite well.
I just, before we vote on this, what we're talking about here is increasing cost, increasing labor, right? And Doug, I haven't heard you yet ask Kevin if this has
Where's the
been
money gonna come
budgeted
from?
and where this money is coming from, because every time an idea is brought up,
I asked that question.
you do.
Because I'm a moderate conservative, you see, which means I don't mind spending money for wise happenings. This to me is a very wise happening on the part of the district.
Isn't
Yes,
there
Bill?
something in this presentation tonight saying that there's a $20,000? Is that right, Kevin? 20,000?
Top end's 25,000.
Top end of 25,000
be
available for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, it's
there's
not available.
there's money out there that can be used.
No, that isn't what it says.
It's not available. It would create a.
And that's a potential additional expense.
So you guys
But-
voted against
I mean-
2,500, now you're voting for 25,000.
I need,
I thought the
I
money
need to
was-
clarify.
You're a
Okay.
moderate conservative.
Excuse me?
Mr. President, we're way
We'll
up.
I just
have,
want to clarify, because the president was asking if the budget needs to be amended. Well, when we negotiate with the union, we will come up with a job description and a rate. And so that will have to come back to the board, and at that time, we can amend the budget.
Correct.
The actual number instead of the estimated number.
okay?
Now, I realize, George, that you were just, I have it here in my notes on the lake. You estimated that full-time position above what we use for seasonal would be something like 15 to 20,000.
That was off the cuff.
That's not for discussion tonight.
He wants to hold you to that, George.
Yeah, no, it's not for discussion tonight.
The new one we have is 24,000.
Yeah.
So that's the ballpark we're in.
Ballpark we're in.
Probably the top end of that. So, any other discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Question.
You would like to ask a question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm
None.
opposed.
Yep. One, I didn't
opposed.
hear you. We have one opposed, passes 4-1. Thank you, public, for your participation.
Enjoy the
You're
lake.
more than welcome to stay here with us. We'll be here till about 10 or 11 maybe. And
It's worth the price of admission.
but if you want to go, we'll understand.
Thank you all for coming.
You realize that you're invited to the January meeting when we're talking about the rate fees, right?
What's that?
You're invited to the January meeting when we're talking about the rate increase.
We'll reconvene from our impromptu recess at 8:17 p.m. And we are going to, I got to delay this just a bit here. We're going to item 8A, committee reports. I'm interested in this one, Larry, after what I saw in the newspaper. Local Agency Formation Commission. Tell us about you guys suing the city of Chico. Or what your committee meeting.
Is that time? Is it time for that now?
It is time. Well, I'm going to go back to 7C when Kevin gets back, but we'll hit these committee reports now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't think we need to hear anything about the Paradise Lake committee report.
Yeah, I think, you've pretty well heard it already.
Yep, I think so.
Right. Okay, we met.
Very little.
Where's my? No, where's my LAFCO thing? Here it is. Okay, we met on the.
Yeah, what happened to budget adjustment? You jumped to
I'm going back.
He's jumping because you guys weren't here.
That's because I'm president.
Right. Okay, we met on the 4th of December, and we went into closed session, and on a vote of 4-3, the town council denied our agreement for them to hook up, to legalize the 62 hookups and to annex the islands in Pico. And so we, because they are violating the state law, we are going ahead with the suit to make them do it. And it's going to cost, and because they wouldn't have signed the agreement, it's going to cost them between $4,000 and $6,000 initially.
In legal fees, is that?
In legal fees.
It'll cost them that on the first submission.
Right, that's what it is. We're hoping, the rumor is that with the new council and the threat of litigation, that they will change their minds and vote the other way and go ahead with it and legalize those 62 things.
Okay.
Okay, and then we also approved the approve the municipal service review and update of the sphere of influence on the city of Oroville. They increased their sphere by over 2,000 acres, but they decreased their sphere of how many acres can be developed. Because it's really weird. What they did is they got rid of some of the stuff that could have been developed, and they took on stuff that can't be developed because it's state properties. So in essence, their sphere increased, but it really didn't.
Why would they annex state property?
Well, because they're worried that they didn't annex it; they just put it in their sphere. They're worried that the way the state is going, the state might abandon it, and they want to have first crack at it. See, that's one of the reasons. And that's their only reason. It's not costing them anything. Yeah, and then and we approved this. We approved their sphere and also their updated MCR, and on that. And I think they're the first ones that have updated theirs. Any consequences? Because it's been 5 years, so now it has to be updated. There are some LAFCOs that haven't gone through the first round yet, so they're in violation of state law. But we're not. We're up to date. And then that was it. And then we're going to. I did go to a Cal LAFCO meeting on November the 14th, and we increased the dues by we have an annual increase of dues, and it's automatic if we don't increase it or decrease it. And our convention in Ontario was a huge success. We made $30,000 or $40,000 on it, and it's mainly because the people in that hosted it got out and got sponsors. They got a lot of sponsors. And so now we're at the dilemma, do we want to continue getting sponsors and help us pay for that? Because this is our main revenue source. Or do we want to, because whenever you have sponsors, you've got to listen to your sponsors more. And so it changes the complexion. It changes the complexion of the.
They're just like lobbyists, right?
What?
Just like a lobbyist, huh?
Yes, right. That's so true. And but it doesn't. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't affect what I'm going to do at LAFCO, but it does help at Cal LAFCO. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. You want to? We talked the Paradise Lake Recreation Committee.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nothing happened more than I told you.
We don't think we need a report on that one.
I think we've got our report.
Right.
We'll move back to item 7C, the budget adjustment. Director of Education and Personnel Adjustment, Treasurer Phillips, and Manager Barber.
Yeah, you can start with education first.
Yeah, so the board, as you remember from last board meeting, changed the policy on director travel and education with the thought of giving them a budget on each director having a budget. So I came up with a recommendation for a $3,000 budget per director. We already have in the budget a $20,000 director expense. This would not eat up the whole budget. It would eat up a sizable portion of it, but I think $3,000 per year for the directors for education travel is a substantial amount of money for them to go on a conference, once a conference, and maybe even a little bit of seminars here and there, and that would still give them some leeway. Like Mr. Director Hunt would be able to go to a conference, but also still have the availability to go to the Tri-County Economic Summit or maybe a day trip in
Proposition 218 deal that's coming up in Long Beach in January. Did you see that? That looked like we should go see it. Somebody should.
I didn't see that one. Where did you get that from?
I don't know. It came across my email.
Oh.
I didn't
Forward
get
it to me.
anything.
So what does that mean? So we have,
Gone by special districts, like you and I went to?
No, this is something else.
essentially that's 15,000 broken up. What's the other 5? Is this left kind of as reserve if one of us needs to go something above and beyond, then it would be voted on by the board or something to that effect?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Gives us a little wiggle room.
The 20,000 still exists, just,
Yep. Because anything over that would
Be
come to
allotted.
the board, and then the board would make a decision on that.
Absolutely.
And that would be in the budget. but it
anything
would
under
be a board
3,000,
decision.
no discussion needed.
Correct.
So we're not changing the budget, we're just allocating it different.
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I heard you say we used it, but
So we're going to
we
leave-
haven't used any of the, very little of the 20,000.
Yeah, just Director Hunt's travel would go under that, under his budget.
Talk quick, I'm ready to make a motion.
No.
Another board that I served on, yeah, very similar to this. It wasn't $3,000, it was about half that amount. But it worked out real well, because it was at the discretion of the board member, but everybody used it wisely.
Correct.
But we still informed the board that we were going to do it.
Yeah.
In other words, we just didn't take off and do it.
It's required that you, any travel, any training that the board member come back and give a presentation in an open session.
But he's even saying advise the board in advance.
Yeah, and that's,
Do we have,
Just
is
kinda
that
like
in our
your-
policy?
it's not in the policy, but I think it's good practice.
Good practice.
It's a good practice, just like you're doing on your reports, the 2 that you're coming up with. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, good.
So that's for the Director of Education, and I'll let George take over the personnel adjustment. There's 2 budget adjustments that we're talking here.
Yeah, and as I've reported in the past, we're actively recruiting for 2 open utility worker 1 positions. And there's a lot of effort and expense involved in recruiting for a position like this. We are getting ready to do 2.5 days or 2 days of round 2 interviews next week. And so we have a person that's been on workers' comp for quite a while. Without getting into details, we don't know if or when they're going to return at this point. And so if we can bring on 3 full-time employees at this point, if that person comes back, then one of these new hires would end up getting laid off. But we wouldn't have to turn around and go through the recruitment process again if it turns out this person isn't going to be able to return to work. So that's why I'm making the request while we're actively recruiting, if you're interested and willing. We also, adding to that, I reported last time about the PG&E having to redo the gas lines down in the Stearns area and that area, and that we're going to go in and jump and do some pipelines in that area without having to do full trench restoration paving. And so getting another person on board will help that as we get breaks in the weather. That's actually one project that, we don't have to shut down all winter on. We can work on that between storms and keep making progress on it. So that's why I'm asking for this amendment, and it's up to you which direction we go.
When is PG&E planning their repave?
The town, they gave money to the town to do the repave.
Okay.
And so we're working with the town.
Spring.
That's good.
They are looking to put it out in July or August.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're just
Got
trying to
lots of
do
time.
everything we can to get it knocked. Well, it's not
Not
lots,
lots
for
of
as
time,
much
but-
work we have,
But
but we need to get it knocked out.
it's not like next month.
I have a quick question, too. I realize that it costs money, the recruiting process, having been involved in some of this. But down here in the bottom, you mentioned approximately $10,000. Is that the cost of bringing the person on and training and recruiting?
No,
or what's it?
what that is when an employee's on workers' compensation,
Okay.
they still maintain their health benefits.
Yeah.
And so we have to continue to pay that, and if we bring a new person on, we would be doubling those benefits
Okay.
up.
Okay, so that's actually health benefits.
They immediately get benefits?
60 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Or 30 days. 30 days now under
Under the
the
new
Affordable
contract.
Care Act.
I move,
But that contract didn't go into effect till January 1st.
No, it's actually the Affordable Care Act. We had to do it whether it was in the contract or not. By law, 30 days.
I move approval to establish the director education budget for the current fiscal year at $3,000 per director and authorize the general manager to hire an additional utility worker.
Second.
Second, we have first and second. At this, we've heard what this is. We have our motion. Do we have any public comments? Questions would like to address us about this? Then we'll move on. Any further board discussion? Yes, Bill?
Basically, I wanted to make sure that this is going to be all right with my trip up to the Willamette Valley, that I can spend up to $3,000 on it without board approval and so forth to inspect their wetlands or thing, like to go in January.
Is that a conference?
No, it's not a conference. I'll confer with the people that are up there.
Oh, that goes right along with my trip to Las Vegas coming up in February.
You're going to confer with a blackjack table, or?
I'm going to confer with
I think there's restrictions on what this is going to be spent on. What are they?
I didn't see anything in here.
It has to be training.
It did. It specifically says something
Policy
like.
defines what the education opportunities are.
What are they?
You'd have to read the policy.
Well, I'm asking for the policy.
Oh, okay.
If you propose this, at least back up does it say in the policy?
The same policy. It's the same policy that we have right now. So
You
we're just
adopted it last
dividing
month.
up the money.
I could go, if you want to go on pause, I can go get the book.
Yeah.
Do we need to go pause, Bill?
Well, I think Director Kellogg
understand
can get the
point you're
policy
making.
later on.
No, I'm really seriously considering this. If you
Okay.
pass this, which I
So
assume you will,
you're saying
I want to
that-
make sure
What you can do?
what we can do.
I don't think
We're
you
only
can
getting
do
the
what
yes
you
vote
want.
if it covers
Well, it
that.
says whatever.
That's what it sounds
What
like
I
here.
read it in here, whatever the director wants to go.
No.
Ken's already talked about one thing he wants to go to.
Per policy.
Yeah, it's another seminar put on by a professional organization attracting people.
That's
from
up here,
all
but that
kinds.
doesn't say that's the policy.
Yeah.
We went over the policy a month ago.
A month ago, we just set policy on that.
Yeah. You'll get it.
So you had an opportunity to read it back then, but we'll wait. If you'd like to
Now-
extend the meeting out, we can do that, Bill.
While we're waiting, if there was a workshop on wetlands put on by a professional organization,
No, that's the old one.
then that might open it up. Well, because
I think it might.
I think it might, because, yeah, we're definitely looking at wetlands.
We are.
Well, one board member, and I'm looking at it myself.
The minority.
Yeah, well, we have, so, I mean, it's pretty damn
I
close.
know. I mean, I think that.
What?
I think going to something that the board has decided not to do is not right.
Well, I don't think that would fall under the classification of education or seminar. So
Well, I
unless
think
they
of
are
it as
holding, unless they are
education,
holding an
right?
educational seminar, but that does not.
Don't have to have board approval.
I can get all
anymore.
kinds of education in Las
Specific.
Vegas.
That doesn't directly.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about whether it's in the policy or not. The policy could be amended for directors to go out and investigate other agencies and operations for the benefit of the district. That wouldn't be a problem, and we have a budget for it. So it may not be in our current policy, but it could be
Yeah.
amended. The policy could be amended,
Could be
because that
changed.
would be a reasonable request to go, I want to go up to, see, we find out where this new plant, we make a decision or making a decision on the process the engineers are designing, you want to go see one. Well, you might
In fact,
not be able to
didn't
make
you
that
go
in a
off
day
and-
trip.
Just like,
For tonight's purposes and
like
this
Jim and I
issue,
did.
though,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You and Jim went off.
of course, it cost us,
But that was
his salary,
that
but he
a-
was learning,
yeah.
and then the trip down there.
A sandwich and gas.
But that was a day trip.
That's
You
basically
you
it.
may have to go to LA to find a comparable.
Yeah, right. And I think, if we don't do that type of a thing, we're penny wise to pound foolish. I really had my eyes opened up on that trip with the Jim and I went on, really. And one of the things I'd like to do, it's in the back of my mind, I do it on my own, but I'd like to go down to San Juan and see occasionally where they pump that water up on the hill. Remember he talked about that? He's got 2 ponds up on top of the hill. Oh, the guy from San Juan.
San Juan, Puerto Rico?
Yeah, remember he talked about pumping it up?
No, San Juan Water Districts in
San Juan
Sacramento
Water
area.
No.
Can I go visit Rick Hall?
Yeah, what's he doing on his banana plantation?
But anyway, see, and then Roseville, they pump it into those lagoons. But San Juan pumps it, the guy, that's what the guy pointed, just like Jim would at his
All right,
plant
well-
up on the hill.
I tell you what, well, let's see if we can, if we've got this motion, you already made it, right?
Yes.
It's been seconded.
The motion's not to
Did you want to
amend.
pause it and go to the general manager's report?
Yeah, I want to do something because
Yeah.
we're just wasting time for something that's
okay.
a policy we saw and voted on last month.
That's fine. All right.
Okay, Kevin, you're on pause. No problems.
Okay.
General manager's report.
Okay, you don't have my written report tonight.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You do have, I handed out the charts. We got a nice little increase from the last storm, and this next one should help. So things are looking better. Short time between two meetings, but I want to cover a couple things. I was at the Aqua Conference last week. It was a very good conference. It was in San Diego. While I was down there, I was also working on the grant with our grant writer that is due on Friday, so I'll cover that as well. Some of the themes that I focused on at the conference was I went to multiple discussions on rate setting and experiences other districts had in rate setting. Primarily, one of the things that I've pushed back early last year and will continue to push is a more consumptive-based rate structure. And you'll hear more from me based on what I learned as we're coming. I'll be sending out in the next couple weeks. There's an Institute for Water Use Efficiency that has a booklet about conservation-based rates. They also have a free tool to help you analyze and set rates or look at your usage, figure out how to kind of adjust the rate to be more consumptive based, and then you can do scenarios that analyze what happens if there's a 20% cutback or a 10%. So I'll be looking at that tool to see if it's useful. But there was many agencies that came up. The CFOs were worried about it. They said, we love to have our guaranteed income stream. But when they got through the process to the other end, when the rate was set correctly and more consumptive based, they were satisfied with their income stream. And a multiple discussion was, it was very nice for the directors to be able to go into a rate hearing, and when people complained about their rates, they could say, well, if you consume less water, you can affect your rate increase. It's not just across the board. And one of the things about our rate increase, like Director Hunt discussed earlier, is when you're dealing with your low-income people, they have that fixed rate, and they can't do anything about it. So giving people power and control of their own water bill is kind of a nice thing to give to your customers. But I'll be pushing that more and discussing it more. There was a lot of talk about the groundwater legislation that was passed. Some people happy with it, some people not. The really interesting part was they kind of rammed this groundwater legislation through. It doesn't affect us a lot, towards the end of the session. And now it's thrown into all these regulators to figure out how to implement what the legislature say. So we really don't even know what the end result's going to be. It's quite interesting. I went to a discussion on the urban water management plan. I've written the last two for the district. The next one we have to do will be in 2016. And like they do every time, they tweaked everything. They've got new stuff I have to figure out and work on. One thing that really bothered me that they're working on is, we had our 20 by 2020 goal, and we did that in the last urban water management plan and set our 2015 and our 2020. Well, now this new legislation threw in to where they can make an adjustment for weather patterns, an adjustment for economic patterns. So they're kind of changing the rules of the game, and they haven't figured out how to do that. So when we have this drought and everybody cut back, we're going to meet our 20 by 15 goal without a problem probably. But now they're going, well, that's kind of artificial, so let's move the bar a little. So we'll see how that plays out.
Shocker, they're going to...
Shocker.
Yeah, they're changing the rules again.
And the other thing that I want to cover is the grant. Been been doing a lot of work on the grant with Sherry Lassick. We threw everything up against the wall. We fully developed it all. I had to go through some work on compliance with AB 1420. There's some other things we have to comply with. We're okay on all of those. But when we kind of flushed everything out and looked at the dollar cost per what the benefits we were getting, we've had to cut it down to high efficiency washer rebate, low flush toilet rebates, sprinklers, actually free sprinklers is in the program, a turf buyback program. Rather than trying to pitch the Parks and Rec specific project, they kind of gave me a proposal, and we looked at the budget, and it's easier for us to just provide a turf buyback program to all commercial operations in the town. And so if we're successful with the rebate, that'd be a $2 square foot rebate to them for removing turf and replacing it. You have to talk about how you're going to deal with this process. We've got leak detection for the entire system in this grant proposal. So instead of the 60 miles we've been doing, we'd hit all 170 miles. And then we made some estimates on how many leaks that would create. And so we got money in there actually to pay our workers to go fix all the leaks they find. So that's a shot we're taking. And then the last one's in conduit hydro at the office. Remember back in the day we talked about putting a hydro generator out this pressure reducing station. So we have that in our grant proposal. And, you know, there's $19 million available. We're asking for 1.2 or something like that. But the good thing is she was assured that when you look at the grant, they're not going to throw it all out. And we've done 3 different programs. So even though it's a big dollar amount, they may fund our best proposals and let us go forward with those.
All or nothing.
It's not an all or nothing. Good. So that's due on Friday. Kind of finalizing stuff today. I've got an email from her. I got a little more to do tomorrow. Hopefully we can get it all uploaded tomorrow, pending power outages at her house and things like that. So that's what's been taking a lot of my time, other than the AECOM stuff and things like that. So,
okay.
Any questions?
How many feet did the lake go up?
About 4 feet. As of
what about the reservoir?
Pardon?
What about the reservoir?
Magalia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it went up a few too. We're actually worried. We stayed on the lake. You know, initially we moved because of water quality, and then we weren't getting a lot of complaints. The operators can really tell when they do a flush, when it starts getting worse. They can smell it a little bit. So we haven't got a lot of complaints. So now we're just staying there from a water conservation standpoint, because it's likely after this storm we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to start releasing water out of Magalia, because we'll get above our control elevation.
The other question, do we have to release so much water to the creek when it's raining?
Have
do we have to do
CFS?
that?
Yes.
So if they're flooding down there, we have to release water and flood them more?
Yep. It's a half CFS.
Half a cubic foot,
It's not gonna flood any
Oh, I
good.
know, but
It ain't gonna be the dam breaker.
They do this, they let water out of Oroville when people are flooding down in Marysville.
You have to be thankful that we have a low number based on an old standard.
Right.
And when we go through the new environmental process, that's likely going to change, and that'll be a fight. But even in that fight, it won't be a set amount. More than likely, it'll be a certain amount during certain times of year and less.
So they will adjust it.
Well, didn't they approve this past year where we were quite a ways above that we could use it down? I thought there was approval for that.
That was a one-time shot in the spring. I'm not even going to ask them this early in the year because they won't. Yeah.
Okay, you see the policy, Bill?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, we'll move back to item 7.
Educational conferences.
Thank you, George.
7C.
Seemed like we moved on,
it's up
I
on the
guess.
screen.
Yeah. Right. Okay, does that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, I think I can go doing that. Did it fit in there?
Well, you can discuss that. Let's vote on what we had, the motion we have.
Okay, we have the motion up. I asked for public comments, got none. Any further discussion or questions from the board about anything? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. And we are at the legal report.
Illegal report?
A legal report.
I don't have much tonight. I'll just briefly tell you about the drought, still taking a lot of my time. Lake Oroville appears to have bottomed out, thankfully, and it's now gaining storage. It was just under 900,000 acre feet. Now it's about 1,030,000, thereabouts. It's interesting, you mentioned the flooded rice fields. That's actually, the districts were encouraged to do that. There's now kind of universal recognition that those flooded rice fields provide a habitat for the waterfowl and
I was talking about the flooding of Yuba City and stuff like that. We release water when they're flooding.
We don't want to flood the golf course down there.
No.
Yeah.
No. But that was an item of discussion. There's a record number of birds coming down this year, and very few acres flooded compared to past years. So the discussion has shifted. Yeah, Doug?
You may have heard this. They value those rice fields flooded and what the commerce it brings in at over $1 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
$1 billion?
Yeah, $1 billion, yeah. I couldn't believe that. But this was from a conference on wildlife management that I went to. And, one of the things that's really happened now with flooding the fields, the migratory birds really gain from it, but they stomp all that stubble in and it decomposes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different happenings. But go ahead.
So the government, or the attention of the state is now shifting kind of from the immediate, how do we deal with these, inadequate water supplies, to more of a planning. What are we going to do in 2015 if it's a average water year or slightly below average? And they've kind of got benchmarks, hydrology benchmarks. And I'm engaged in those discussions. There will be a report from the State Water Project and Central Valley Project in mid-January that will kind of flesh out a drought operations plan. If things continue to remain dry, what are we going to do in 2015? So there could be some impact on PID depending on what's said or what's proposed. And if that's the case, I'll mention it in a future report. But the kind of general rule of thumb that everybody's saying is in order for the drought to be over, we need about 150% of average rainfall. Average just isn't going to cut it. So unless there's questions,
It'll cut for PID, though.
Yeah, yeah.
We're getting the good storms, hitting our small little watershed.
I can jump onto his report, something else that was covered at the conference, because we've talked about it. And there's expected multiple proposed legislation next year to somehow deal with low-income assistance in balance with Prop 218, not in balance. Prop 218 doesn't allow you to have a low-income assistance program as a district, and the legislatures are trying to figure out how to work around that. And some of the ideas are not very friendly, and they're even talking about a per meter fee that the state will collect all that money, and then they'll be the ones to give it back to the low-income people. So I'm sure it'll be dollar for dollar. There won't be any sliced off the top.
Yeah.
So expect that coming up next year.
School.
So I would add to that, really the largest revenue source that you have that isn't limited by Proposition 218 is your lake revenue. So...
And he's right. A lot of districts are talking about what they do, and there's districts that have multiple cell tower leases at their tank sites, and they actually use that revenue stream to provide a low-income assistance because it's not Prop 218 revenue. I can't make that math work legally myself, but that's what they're doing.
From cell towers.
Yeah, cell tower
I'm
lease.
involved, and I can't figure out any figures, but I'm involved because of my elks across the street. Those are money makers. My God, it's, up front and then per month, it's mind boggling. You don't even know the damn thing's sitting out there.
Can I ask questions of the unaccounted water report and other things in here before we go on to Kevin's thing?
Is that going to be in the staff and billing report area?
I don't know. It starts in page 46.
We haven't got there yet.
Haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay.
Next item.
It's coming up next, though, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And so we're set there. Okay, now we are into the staff and billings reports. Action may be taken. Staff report for November 14, November. So, any comments from the board members? Comments, questions? Now's the time, Bill.
Okay, on page 46, I guess it is, it's this chart here. Whoop. Anyway, it shows our leakage loss in the system going up. It was down in the 5% thing, I think, and now it's up to 6.42 at the end of October on it. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that this is part of the problem of fixing leaks in the district, and we're way behind on it.
No.
Well, except it started going down at the very end of that, Bill.
Okay, the way the percent goes up because we're producing less water, not because we're losing more water.
Okay.
The red thing shows what's really happening. The blue is
Well,
the percentage.
Red went up and then went down a little bit, so either way around. And then on the next page, it has PID monthly web statistics. And what I'd like added to this would be Aquahawk. In other words, how many hits and how many people are using it. Can it be part of the PID monthly web statistics? Aquahawk use and so forth.
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
And then the next page, either I'm reading this wrong or there's a mistake. On page 48, it gives the routes up at the top. November 14, November 13, and the differences, and somehow the variable on the second one, consumption bill, it shows a positive figure, but if you look at the 129,000 against 156,000, it should be a negative there, shouldn't it?
She's got it set up to where it's comparing prior to current.
Prior out.
Right, and the other route comes in with a negative figure, and this one shows a positive figure, yet last year was 156,000, and this year was 129,000.
Yeah, so I'll have her change that. What she's doing is she's taking the 14 or the 13 and subtracting the 14 from it, where it should be the 14 subtracted from the 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of that should
I
be
did
changed.
catch a mistake, and thank you.
Both top and bottom are wrong.
The rest of my questions will come under Kevin's report. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the directors?
I make a motion to accept the staff and billing reports as presented.
Second.
I'm not going to ask for any public participation.
There's none left.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Passes 5-0. We're moving to the treasurer's memo. Review and consider acceptance of the treasurer's memo.
So, you have my written memo. You can see that I did our cash position as of 11/25 because it's gone for the last week. The happiest place on earth.
Did you see my daughter down there?
No,
My daughter,
on Tuesday?
my daughter and family. No, she was there before. She was there for Thanksgiving, and the Thanksgiving weekend was perfect.
Oh, I believe it.
Just rub it
80
into
degrees.
So our cash right now is about $3.6 million, 2 million unrestricted, 1.5, or 2 million restricted, 1.5 unrestricted. So the operational standpoint, service fees right on budget, but our consumption is lagging behind budget.
Could I ask a question on the cash position?
Yeah.
You've got 1.596 million unrestricted, then it comes down to 1.4 million is collected from capacity fee and is restricted to capacity increasing projects. So is that under the 2 million restricted, or is it under the 1.5?
Restricted.
Huh?
Under the 2 million restricted.
Under the 2 million restricted. So besides that, we have another, well, not even a million, about 900,000 in restricted.
About 500.
No, it's I and double I. Those
Okay.
two must add up to 2 million.
Then, so the 500,000 is unrestricted, and basically that's our reserve at this point.
That's what we have as a unrestricted, meaning that we can use it for, where there's no restrictions.
No restrictions on it other than the
Also
board.
remember that 1.4, the capacity fees is earmarked for the process water recycle project.
But it's not going to take all of, there's only going to be like 200,000 left in it when we're done with that?
When we're done with the design.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
In other words, the design is going to use most of that capacity fees.
That's correct.
So what we'll have in unrestricted is $1,596,000, which is to pay our normal business and so forth.
Okay. But remember, our normal business under the budget is collected and paid through current operations.
No, I understand. We're working on a cash basis with the accounting. So as we collect our fees and everything, then that goes into paying the bills too. So this thing floats, in other words.
Correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, I just said thank you.
Okay. Just a reminder, we did pay off a DWR loan and I just wanted to put that in there, that our original borrow amount in 1993 was $5.2 million, and that has now been retired. So I think that's a good goal that we have accomplished as a district. Also to remind that we signed a contract with AECOM for the design of the process water recycle. We are evaluating rates for the rate committee. George is working on that. He's kind of giving you an update on that. We met with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund staff to get clarifications on pledging water for the future rate increase, so we know what we have to go through to get this future rate increase, so that we can establish the loan and get those funds. Open enrollment is closed for all employees. Hopefully everybody got their stuff in and selected the plan that they were hoping for.
I took them both.
Oh, good. Excellent. And just a reminder, next
Classic
week,
and the HSA.
I'll be down in San Francisco for the government tax seminar. So it's an update on all information regarding payroll tax, Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, retirement plans, any type of contract labor, any of that type of stuff. They cover on an update every year, and it's always come back with something that is valuable to the district.
You know, one of the things I've asked is in some of the meetings, and I don't think they've always been closed, but just for my own knowledge, what does the Affordable Care Act actually cost a firm like us in advance, and is it made better coverage for our
So
people?
that we can't answer that question on firm facts,
You
because we are subject to rules that are associated with the Affordable Care Act, but we're not going out to the exchange and buying health care for our employees. So that the Affordable Care Act required insurance companies to offer certain things inside of their insurance. They obviously have passed the cost on to us.
Right.
We've seen consistently 7% increases in our healthcare over the last, since that's been since the Affordable Care Act went into place over the last 3 to 4 years.
One time 7% or 7%, 7%?
Each year.
Each year.
Each year.
Yeah. And so that's
And do we
just
have
a
better,
maximum.
do our people have better care? I don't, and my policy for Butte.
You want a critique of Obama's plan? This is not it.
Now, we're kind of off topic here.
Yeah.
We're paying for the doggone thing, or at least our ratepayers are.
I'll just make this comment. I think that even before the Affordable Care Act, our employees had outstanding
Yeah, we had-
health care.
I know they had outstanding.
And I think after the Affordable Care Act, our employees have outstanding health care.
Okay, good.
We haven't changed.
Answer is good. That's a good answer. But when you get back to your conference,
To the district.
if you could come up with some kind of figures what it's actually cost us. And it may have cost us the same if Obamacare hadn't been around. Never mind. Thank you.
That's a question for Aqua, actually. Aqua JPA. Any other questions? I'll answer them at this point.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's memo as presented.
Second, I beat Gary on that one, see?
It's okay.
I had to be quick.
Any further comments or questions from the board?
Yes. I really appreciate the way Kevin puts this memo together. It really clears up a lot of different information, so I appreciate that.
Kevin?
What, didn't you do some of this at Disneyland?
The next one I did is good.
The next one you did at Disneyland, okay.
So it'll be a little soggy.
Now.
This was the
Okay.
non-soggy day.
Bill?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Approval of the November checks.
I want to get this out real quick. I started looking through this. Is this 10, 15, 12 on every page? And then when it goes down here, the checks date is 9/9 on AT&T, 9/19/2012. Are we looking at 2012 bills, or are we looking at 14? 'Cause, in fact, I kept going back to the front page, and it was 14 out here.
You're right. See, I did this at Disneyland.
In Disneyland, everything happened.
10, 10, 12. So
That's amazing. I didn't
Well,
even
the dates
see.
for the dates for
Look
the
up
checks
there.
are in
I
12
know. I
too.
didn't even see the dates.
I didn't notice that either. Good catch.
I feel good about myself. I'll go home feeling great.
You know that $100 bonus that we gave you? We're taking it back.
100.
We're going to blame it on
1,000.
Are these current checks?
Disneyland.
Are these current checks?
do you want me to go print the new one?
This isn't the
Why
current
don't we
check?
review it next month?
Oh,
I say we do it next month.
Yes. I just,
We'll have two
You
sets.
need to approve the,
so let's, the check number's right.
no, we can't.
Kevin, we're going to allow you to excuse yourselves.
Yeah.
We are going to.
Just get us the check numbers and the exclusions.
As far as I'm concerned, next month would be fine.
Yeah, but we have to approve them.
Oh, yes, we do, don't we?
Well,
Director's
Kevin,
comment.
So we're going to move.
when Kevin's gone, I wanted to ask George a question, and I forgot it during his thing. It's just basically on water rights. Where are we?
Where are we?
Yeah.
We are waiting for me to review the project description and get it back to the,
or the EIR.
for the EIR.
Are you asking about the water board going to license?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That's, the ball's in the state water board's court on that.
No, we're not gonna do- Yeah, he's right. It is a little more complicated than that. We can proceed with our EIR, which is why the project description's sitting on my plate to review and get back comments. But at the same time, we're also waiting for the State Water Board's staff to tell us that they agree with the accounting that Neil put together on what our water rights use has been and the appropriate permits and all those kind of things. So we've heard nothing from them. We could be proceeding with the EIR, so it's a little both of ours that it hasn't moved anywhere.
Okay, we've been working on the EIR for 3 years or something?
Yeah.
What? I haven't.
But keep in mind, it's not a bad thing because you don't want someone to claim your EIRs stale. South Feather did their water rights. How long? They still haven't heard that.
And they sought reconsideration because their request to extend them was denied, and there it sits for the last 5, actually probably more like 10 years.
Yeah.
So
total on this thing.
Wow. You know,
It's one of the reasons it keeps getting put on the back of my plate between negotiations and all the other things, because I know that us jumping forward isn't going to move the ball at all in really getting a
Their
decision.
office has still got the high pile and all that.
Well, and they all got shifted over to the drought. I mean, they were all hands on deck on trying to figure out how to deal with this drought from the State Water Rights Board standpoint, so they weren't going to deal with it anyhow.
you know, I really don't understand how.
Thank you.
Not counting staff, are you done, Bill?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, not while you're on this subject, not counting staff time, how many hundreds of thousands does it cost us from a engineering firm that does that kind of work?
It's in the budget, it was in the $300,000.
$300,000 is what I remember on there.
Yep.
You know, back in the 50s, we had a couple of tower ranches properties leased in Councel and Yankee Hill. Entirely different community back then. And the water came out of Councel Creek and Councel Reservoir. And both those properties had X number of miners inches. I don't remember what it was. You know, we had a weir that we put it out of, and it was quite interesting. But not, I don't think they ever had to split a penny on approval.
Yeah, they probably perfected those water rights long before.
Before you get into panic, we're waiting for Ken.
No, but I want to move on to director comments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I appreciate your asking me there. That's fine. I was trying to give you some latitude to get those answers.
Funny, the questions I had on the check register was because it didn't, why are we doing this now? It shouldn't be done.
A lot of mine were like, didn't we do this before? Or wasn't even paying attention to the day.
We will start on, and we will complete our director comments, and then we'll finish up with the check register.
Okay.
So, Bill, would you please advise us if you have any director comments this time?
I have a comment. I've been accused in closed meetings and open meetings as being on a hunt for firing certain individuals in this district by one of the directors. And that has never been on my agenda. I may have complaints and questions and stuff, but I've never brought that up. I've never proposed any of it. I have been critical of operations and stuff, but this has never been part of my work on this district. My basic thing is to try to make this district to be the best it can be, and being that George and company only reports to the board, and we're the only ones that can be critical and ask questions with some sort of authority. And that's part of my business aspect, asking hard questions to try to get to the bottom and question everything that I don't understand or wonder about. So I would appreciate it that the director involved doesn't make any more statements to that effect. Thank you.
Doug, comments from you?
I feel real good.
You
about
do?
how the world.
Do you feel good?
I feel great. how the world's turning, and I have. Well, thank you.
Attorney's fees too?
My God, it is 11/10/14.
Well, you got the date changed.
No, it's the wrong register.
Oh, it's the wrong register
yeah,
altogether?
that's all my questions were saying, how come we're doing this now?
Oh, wow.
It's because it was the wrong
I didn't realize
register.
it was all, everything. Now I have to look at it again.
Yeah, the amount is right on the memo.
So to finish my director's comments.
Yes, we'll finish here.
I think we have a great district here, and I have nothing but good words to say.
And Larry, our esteemed ex-president.
Ex-president. Yeah, you know, the more I think about it, I wish I'd have gone the other way.
You had the opportunity.
I had the opportunity, but I didn't. I like to give everybody a chance.
Kids, you realize I just as soon have you as president as him. I just wanted to do it for another year.
Yeah.
Well, that would not have been a difficult pill to swallow.
It would.
Okay, but then, well, I thought it would have been because I know you wanted it real bad. That was my.
Well, I did.
defending.
I like.
But my
I
comment
like
is, you know, it does bother me when the audience goes after people individually, and that's not right. But it's part of the job, and because I do not have a personal agenda. My agenda is people who put me here. And I feel that since nobody ran against me, that means that the majority of the people like what I'm doing, and I appreciate it. That's my comment.
Sep, do you have comments?
I'd like to thank the board for the nomination and subsequent election to the office of Vice President for the 2015 season. And I thought it was real interesting. Someone pointed out what a great catalyst our little conversation tonight was. And I wanted to jump right in there at that point and say, you will find Director Hunt is the catalyst for a lot of great conversations on our board. But that was exactly it. How many people did we get? How many articles have been in the paper, and how many are going to be in the paper on this issue? And so it got people thinking. I had 4 or 5 people. We can have $1 million, $10 million item, and I don't get one comment at work. I had 4 people at work say, "What's going on with the lake? What are we doing? Are they not going to charge money for it? What's going to happen to the lake if they don't charge money for it?" So it was an excellent catalyst for the town of Paradise, because I think we saw a certain amount of people here, but I know there were a ton of people talking about this issue. So I know what your intent was, and I know it wasn't the direction everybody thought it was. So I wanted to thank you for that. That was a great catalyst for conversation on a topic which tends to stagnate sometimes. Hopefully they'll be so proactive when we come to the $10 million item. So thank you again.
My comments are, I appreciate the the election into the position of president for this year. And you saw a little bit about the way that I'm going to try and control the meetings, especially when there's a large group of people. But
You're going to be mean, huh?
Well, I didn't
I
think
know,
it
that's
was,
what they accused you
it
of.
was mean.
Oh, Bruce, what did they say? What was the word? What is the word he used?
I don't know. Something. But nonetheless, I think we'll have better participation from public if they know what their roles are, how they're going to interact with us, and then we control that. And and we got through it pretty quickly. We're going to get through this meeting here pretty quickly also, and I expect to work hard for the board and be fair to everybody concerned here in presenting ideas and items, and we'll move along expeditiously in taking care of the public's business. And that ends the director's comment, so we'll loop back here to do the approval of the November checks. We will consider, maybe we're going to approve these November checks.
On the check register, there's the attorney. We don't have the breakdown on the attorney's fees where they went. There's $12,000 there, but there's a separate sheet we usually get on that.
You probably got that bill last month because you wanted the bill for the current month every month.
Yeah, but I didn't find it when I went in and.
But it's too early this month to give it to you.
No, the 11th, 20th of what I'm
He's just
asking
talking
for,
about
because
the package.
when I went home through the packet, I didn't find it. But that was a meeting. I'd been so busy with my business, I didn't do my homework very well. So, but I didn't find that broken down. And maybe it was given out, but I didn't find it when I got home.
Do you want me to go print a bill for you?
Yeah, if you would, I would. That would help me, because that's something I'd like to see every month. It's not meant as a way to jab you, Dustin. It's to find out where the money went.
Check register. Anything else on the check register? No?
Yeah, you can't use this motion,
No. This motion is good?
No, because we got the wrong check number.
I didn't think it was.
We don't have a motion on the check register. I don't think.
No, but we're just
Because we need to exclude it and.
They're saying the one that's printed out isn't
We
right.
have questions
Right,
for
yeah, I got that.
clarification.
The interesting part of it, the one from 12.
Excuse me, Doug, I want to make sure the bill was finished.
Okay.
Bill, did you have any other questions about any other line items other than the legal?
No, I really didn't. In fact, I didn't realize this register. I started looking at the dates, and I hadn't caught the conversation on it. Had the wrong register to begin with.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. That was it, really,
All right.
just the attorney's fees.
Doug, did you come up with any
what
concerns or
exclusions we have?
questions?
Mr. Kevin should be here, but maybe you guys can answer.
I might be able to answer.
On the retirement,
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of it. It comes to 37,000. I just was.
Give us a page number.
4 of 13.
It doesn't have the page number.
Lower right-hand corner.
Oh, yeah, 4 of 13. This is the bottom figure, and then 3 of 13. Now, we're paying 12% on most people, or 9 if they don't
Paying
put.
9 and we're matching 3.
Or matching, okay. We're paying 9 and we're matching 3.
Yes.
Okay, well, anyway, it has here loan payment, it's only a little bit, and the trust. Is that the money that we're paying in or they're paying in? It comes to $37,000, and I was trying to remember what 12 is when I found out it was 12. Is that about what it costs us a month for the retirement?
No, it's gonna be a mix of employees and us, because the loan payments, those are loans the employees took out of their retirement account,
And then they pay them back?
and then they pay it back.
What do we set up a payment schedule so they pay them back over time?
Yeah, it comes out of their paycheck automatically.
Do they have to have any reason other than they just need the money, or is that it? Is there money? I
For a
guess?
loan, there's no reason, but there is rules on what percentage of their total amount they can take out.
Okay. Sounds good. But I had a lot of questions on that other one, but
Yeah.
I don't on this one. Looks good to me. That's all I have, Ken.
Larry, were you able to find
No,
anything?
not so far. But we're gonna need some help on this motion though.
How
'cause
about
we
just
don't have
using
the
all
check
checks?
numbers.
All checks listed between.
We'll have them. Yeah, I think we might.
11:1
Maybe on the
to
last
11:30.
page.
I think we can do check numbers as presented, subject to verification of the CFO.
And the amount is only,
I want to make sure that the amount should be 379.
that seems awful low.
37, it kind of does. That's why I'm waiting for Kevin.
Yeah, that's what that was gonna be my question.
But it's the same total on both.
I know, but I can't believe it's that low.
I don't think it's ever been that low, has it? 'Cause, you know, once in a while, we'll be up there
Maybe
pushing
he needs to go to
$1 million.
Disneyland more often.
Send everyone on
Seth, did
vacation.
you have any questions?
Nope, I went
you
through
came up
every
with?
one and I did not, I answered it.
Summary on the back, is that what you were looking for?
I answered my own question.
Yeah, no, I was looking for the check numbers, but they aren't, I was gonna say, but they're not in check
sequential.
order.
You write them alphabetically.
You're right, they're not.
That didn't
We
make them
used to have a
sequential.
report that did it by check number too. But because of the short month, he didn't give a lot of the extra reports.
Ken,
Okay, so, yes, thank you. So I don't have any,
We're gonna
any
double
items
check
to
that
bring up, so we're gonna wait for the
amount.
appropriate check numbers, appropriate amount, and we will
I
get
don't know,
it.
does he know we want that?
Yeah, he's getting.
I think he just went home.
No, I thought he went to get the.
Pretty sure I just saw a Camry drive up the road.
Lawyers, but he knows
Yeah.
when he.
We were thinking we were gonna let you make the motion.
We're gonna let him make the motion.
Just blow it all.
We give it to Sep. Sep is all warmed up.
Well, what
Ready to go.
is the amount 379?
Yeah.
It is? Why is it so low?
We probably had no loan payments, no debt service payments.
That's right on track.
Oh, is it really? It's just low in it's low in that month.
Okay,
huh?
so with the exclusion of
Voided check.
voided check numbers to be confirmed by the CFO,
The voided check number should be right on there, because it's
Where?
47178.
47178. That's it?
That's it. That's the only check, voided check.
Can you bring up the normal motion and I'm gonna sub in some stuff?
It's on the agenda on your table.
I already threw,
It's all the way-
that's been trashed already? Sorry?
There it is.
Okay,
It's on the screen.
so consider approval.
No.
I make a motion.
Question, just for my own, on page 10, it says current balance divided by 11. Is that one of the groups that we're in where there's 11 different entities? Why is it divided by 11?
Which one are you at?
Page-
I
page
saw
10.
that.
I think it's
10 of 13.
Of your individual,
Well, that's-
Bill.
It's 10 of,
It says
10 13.
PID.
That's a date.
I don't know the page number.
It's 10 of 13.
The one for $2,600.
Yeah.
That's a date.
Ledge committee. So I'm a member of the Aqua State Legislative
Okay.
Committee. It's a lobbyist group.
It's not the 200.
It's not that.
I have 11 clients that pay for that.
Fantastic.
PID is one of them. So we divide whatever my time is by 11. There's others like that. Like the next page, that's test claim. So we divided that by 4.
Okay, yeah.
And there's going to be the next bill you'll see will have a bit of time on that too, because we had the trial.
Do you ever have a multiplier for clients who just really piss you off?
Should you?
I know, right.
They're no longer clients. You even got one divided by 21.
12,
All right.
12, 11.
Ready?
I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to consider approval of general check fund numbers 47163 through 47264 for the month of November 2014, totaling 378,000.
9,000.
379.
$379,837.95, exclusive of voided check number 47178, and authorize a similar amount allowing or adjusting for our extraordinary budget or board-approved items during the month of December.
I'll second it.
Okay, and I'm going to amend it and say not consider, but approve.
He started off consider, but he backed
No, he didn't.
he backed up, yeah.
No, he didn't back up.
I might have said a motion to consider approval.
Motion to consider. What?
I did start the first time, and then when I actually made the motion, because Doug asked a question, I think that I
He
said,
said, I move
you're pretty
to
early, too. It's
consider.
only
which
To
is
consider.
okay. But he moves to
it was a
consider
shortage.
it,
He
that's
moves?
okay.
Oh, is that okay? I move to consider? Okay. That was Ken wouldn't.
as long as we're not just going to consider it.
Longer than I thought it was.
All right.
Is my motion?
Any further,
No, sir.
any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are
I don't
passed
know what we're
5-0.
Close the meeting.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yeah.